Hey, y'all, welcome to another episode of Indie Anna Jones. I'm your host, Dustin Jones. I'll always be talking from the side of just a fan. I've never done anything on the other side of the screen, no writing, director, anything like that. So I'm just a huge fan. I love movies, but I've always had a heart for just talking about them. And so I had this idea a long time ago to just talk to people who are on the other side of the screen, get their unique perspective, what they've gone through, how hard a scene might be, or how unique something they've seen that gives us a perspective. And so today's guest will be our independent filmmaker side of it, the indie, and that is going to be Tom Baker. Tom Baker is no stranger to the Missouri area. He's done film here for a while, and we're going to get into his story and how long he's been doing things and all the different things he's got going on. Tom Baker, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on, man. This is cool.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. So I got to give everybody a funny little story. So if anybody, especially girls that are watching, have wondered, guys do talk to each other while going to the bathroom. And so I go see He-Man with my wife, and Sato 48 is this independent film production in the area. They do a competition, and we're going to get into that with Tom. Well, Tom was there to promote some of the stuff that was going to be going on that weekend. But Wednesday night, College Station will show movies a little bit earlier. So there was a Wednesday night showing. And so me and my wife go see it. Of course, I had to go pee because I'm 50. So got to go straight to the bathroom. And here's this gentleman saying, while we're peeing, hey, aren't you that podcast guy? And I'll be honest, it's the first time anybody said that to me. So my head was like, somebody knows me. And so then it turns out we have mutual friends. I've had his friends on the show. And they've been telling me to talk to Tom Baker. And so we introduced each other, found out we both love He-Man. So really excited to have you on.
That was great to be on. That was funny because I had watched a couple of your episodes because I think David and Ryan, and I think I watched Curtis's too. And I'm not afraid to call somebody out when they're urinating. It's like, so yeah, it's, and you know what? Case in point, it served me well most of my life to be able to be that way. So I'm all right with it.
No, it was great. We got
Got
to
me
talk.
here, right?
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And then, and what was so cool is if we hadn't talked in the bathroom, I don't know if I would have, because I saw the Sato 48 stuff, but my wife and I already had some plans and stuff. And so I rearranged the stuff after talking to you. And so Tom ended up being my date for Friday night.
Oh, that's right.
We watched, it was 55 short films, y'all. It was from like, 6:30 at night, 6:30 to like midnight. So it was long, and there were some really good ones. So we're going to talk about that sometime.
And there were some really bad ones.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's ones that you love, there's ones that you don't, but you have to give props to people in the area that they went on a limb. They have a passion for writing or directing or acting. And turned out one of the girls who works at College Station, was chatting. I went and got a burger, and she's like, "Oh, I think my film might have already been shown." And sure enough, she was in one of the short films, and she was excited. I was like, "Oh yeah, that's one of my favorites so far." And so it's just cool to be recognized for your love. And so I know you've been a part of this for many years. So we're going to kind of set up your origin story first, and then we're going to get into your history here in Missouri. So my first question for most guests is always your backstory. As what was the movie, film, play, or experience that gave you that itch and love to want to just not just keep watching movies, but be on the other side of the screen? Do you have something in mind?
I would say, probably the deep cut of Tom Baker, right? I was, it was about seventh grade, and I was really skinny. I was really gawky. I had a bunch of pimples. I had big glasses. I probably weighed $105, so I was 100 pounds lighter than what I am right now. And there were no prospects at all. And, this is 1987. All right.
Okay.
So the world was very different then than what it is now. So for whatever reason, I got introduced to comic books. And this was, it was kind of one of those things where I think a lot of young men at that time, we all read comic books, or it was like a way to kind of escapism of sorts, right? And I got into Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. And I think the reason why I love Spider-Man is because I really related to Peter Parker in a lot of ways.
The nerdy side, before the power side. Yeah.
So I really related to Peter Parker, and I loved the idea of getting some powers, and whooping people's butts, and that kind of stuff. But anyways, I decided to become a photographer because Peter Parker was a photographer.
Okay.
And
nice.
And I fell in love with photography for that. So I started doing the yearbook at the high school, or at the junior high. And then that kind of led into taking courses in school that were kind of more on the photography side, and it led into this early kind of affinity that I had for photography, and that kind of transcended into, and after that, I guess kind of unlocked my artistic side, as it were. And then I went to the military after high school, still had a love for photography, but then I got back and I kind of wanted to find something that gave me as much of a rush as sitting or being on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier.
Sure.
And in Middle Missouri, the really only the thing I could find that gave me a rush was getting up on stage and performing. And so once again, kind of not having any prospects, I thought, I'll do theater. That's where all the women are at. And there was, I met my wife in my first show that I ever did. We did,
Nice.
it was a production of West Side Story, and we became close friends. And then a couple of years later, we started dating, and then the rest. So I've been acting on stage for 30 years, and that and photography and a background in marketing kind of led me into being a filmmaker. And I've always had an affinity for westerns and movies in general, and so it just all kind of came together eventually. It's like it kept pushing me. The world, God, whatever you want to call it, pushed me and said, here, do this. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll do it.
No, that's awesome. Now, going back, so when you were doing photography for like yearbook and stuff, did you ever start getting the itch for theater? Were you doing like, I'm sure they asked you to take pictures of like the plays at your school
Hmm.
and stuff. Were you ever like, I want to do that? Or was this that part didn't come until after the military? You
I
know what I'm
always wanted
saying?
to do it. Yeah, I
You
always
did.
wanted to do it, but I was scared.
Scared.
And, and I tell people, a lot of people now, the number one thing to kind of, whether that be filmmaking or acting on stage, it's all about getting over that fear. And it's moving that fear from I'm scared to I'm excited. You have to shift that kind of muscle. And for me, it took going to the military and going through some of the things that I went through in the military to kind of get on the other side and go, okay, well, this is not as bad as that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then it made it that much more easier in the end. And once I got up on stage, then it was like, oh wow, this is that feeling I've been trying to have, for a long time, and then you figure it out. It's like it was a perfect harmony for me.
Nice, nice. Now, with touching with Missouri, so you're a Missouri boy then your whole life. You went off to the military, came back. So you
Hmm.
never did you ever try to do the LA thing, or have you just been a local
No.
Missouri actor, writer? Has this been your heart and your mainstay has been this area then?
Yeah, I think my wife and I early on, my wife went off to, at the time she was my girlfriend, but she went off to Indiana University, and she was going to be, she went through the music school there. She was planning on being an opera singer, and I think she got all the way up into her junior year, and we just decided that we didn't want that lifestyle. We wanted to have children. We wanted to build a family, and we were smart enough to know that that lifestyle doesn't really bode well for having building a family. And not to take anything away from anybody else, but it was just like it wasn't what we were looking for in our life. And we just kind of made a choice. And we said, let's just be the best dadgum community theater actors that we know.
Okay.
And so we've had a great life together by doing just that. Just like I worked at the craft for 30 years, and I still do it. I was supposed to audition for a show this week, and I decided not to. I was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to."
Okay.
But that kind of stuff is all. You definitely have to make a choice of what type of actor you want. You want to go and do the LA thing and go do that, or do you want to stay focused? At least, at this point in my life, that's what I think. I think you got to kind of figure out what type of an actor do you want to be? Do you want to be a good community theater actor? Or do you want to go off and try to make a living at it? And that's really hard. I've seen a lot of people try and not do it.
Yeah, yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely it's no different than, like, say, I'm a big sports guy. I mean, there's failure stories than there are success stories,
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, because there are so many people that wanna do these things. So when it comes to the community theater and things like that, what got you doing the screen work? Because I know you're very involved in short films, you've done a TV show, I think you did a show called Ghost Talk that has, if I saw correctly, she's one of your actors in your recent short story. Yes. Okay. So, what got you wanting to go to getting the camera involved? Was that the photography side of you wanting to get back into cinematography? Did you start that first? Or were you secretly writing? Like, kind of, how did that all? Because you've done acting, you've done cinematography, you've done writing. So it sounds like photography was the mainstay. When did you start wanting to write, and get into that short film side of things?
I mean, really, when I got to the point where I started to write was when Sato started, when I started doing Sato 48,
Okay.
because it was a means to an end, right? Like, I
Yeah.
have to be able to, I don't mind, like, I'm a director mostly. I'm a director by default because, like you said, I kind of have I know how to act, I know how to film, and I'm an editor. And so, and I've also got, experience in gaffing and gripping and all that good stuff. Audio's the one thing I'm not the greatest at. But because I know how to do all those things, it's easier for me to come in and play the part of a director on a set because I can at least know like how things are going. And for me, I would say I probably lean more towards wanting to direct my own stuff. And so writing became that kind of, it was that one other piece that I just wasn't as comfortable with, but I had to kind of like learn how to conquer it, and it became challenging, but that was what made me like writing. But it's also what I hate about writing is because sometimes I'll spend all day writing something, I'm like, "This is junk," and
Yeah.
then you, like, put it off to the other side. But what I've ultimately learned is that some days you have to go through that kind of wilderness of writing that piece, and it might be junk, but there might be one little good little part in there that you've been able to kind of extrapolate out of your brain, and then you go, "Oh, I'm gonna put this in this one," and then it becomes something that's actually good later on, At least that's how I process that. I've been working on a script for about a month, and it's an arduous process.
Now, is this script for another short story, or are you actually working on a full length? Because you've done the short films, you've done the writing for those and directing for those. Is this going to be a full feature length that you've been working on?
No, I think it's going to be probably 30 to 45 minutes.
Okay.
And I'll just say this, I'm not a huge fan of a film having to be an hour and 20 minutes long, or a film having to be 2 hours long, or, like I just heard that the new Avengers Doomsday is going to be like 2 hours and 55 minutes long or whatever.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of like necessarily letting the time get in the way of telling a good story. I mean, for heaven's sakes, you can go and binge a TV series now and watch however many episodes of a season, which is 13 hours typically, right? And that doesn't get in the way of them telling a good story sometimes. Now, sometimes it does because they go, well, we have to have 8 episodes and they all got to be an hour long. So let's make 2 filler episodes, which I'm not a huge fan of that either. But I've gotten to the point here, and I think that and this we can talk about this later about the whole Hollywood process and the whole Hollywood model, but I think it's irrelevant in some cases because I mean, if you can tell a good story in 45 minutes, tell a good story. Don't add a bunch of junk into it. And so that's what I love about filmmaking and about this is that we get to set our own rules on what if it's a good story, don't let the time frame get in the way of it. It just so happens that most of my ideas are short attention spans. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. It's the
but
He-Man fan in you.
yeah, I've seen, I mean, I won't lie. There was a film festival that I went to a few years ago, and it was a 2-minute film, and it was the best film of the festival. They were able to tell the story and evoke a feeling within 2 minutes, and I was like, "Chef's kiss. That's beautiful if you can do
Yeah.
that." And so, and that's, I think that that's a whole different topic for another
For
day.
sure.
But I
Yeah.
just think that that's where that's where I've gotten to with filmmaking. Is I look at it and go, I want to write something. This is the story that I have. I think it's going to be 45 minutes, and I'm totally okay with that. I'm not making it to make $1 million. I'm kind of wanting to do it just to get it out of my head, you know?
Sure. I mean, if it
Yeah.
makes the money, great, but
Yeah.
it's more about that story. With that in mind, and then for anybody who's watching that's never, and I've talked about this before in other episodes, if you've never given short film a chance, after sitting through 55 short films, I can say that, yeah, there can be some ones where you're like, I don't know what they were thinking,
I
or
want my
I don't
5
get
minutes back.
yeah, I want
Yeah.
my 5 minutes back. But there were stories like Tom was just saying, there were a couple 4-minute, 5-minute stories that got the whole thing. Like, I went from suspense to laughter to crying. Like, I think it was called Little Brother, right? Hardly any words were spoken, but the way in which that team made that film, I wasn't expecting to cry at a short film festival. And there were a couple of films
Mhm.
that evoked that. And there were some films where you just laughed your butt off. And then there were films where you were just like, you were engaged. And I mean, heck, there was one film about these two brothers with puppet shows. And I'd never seen Rocket Jesus before. And it was,
Yeah.
and it had a really good message. And I think it was a church that did it. And so I recommend try if your local area does any short film at a movie theater, give it a go, or just look up short films and give them a go, because like Tom's saying, I mean, you can get a whole 2-hour story in 5 minutes if it's done correctly. Sado 48 had about, I would say there were about 20 of the 55 I would love to see expanded. Like, there were
Yeah.
worlds, there were people and characters or little worlds created where you're like, and that's how, like I've talked before, there's a movie on Netflix called Cargo. That's with Martin Freeman. It's a zombie movie. That came from a 2017 short
That's
film
right.
that was just 3 minutes long, right?
Yep. That's
And
right.
it was an amazing short film, and it's still probably one of my favorite just because I'm really into that apocalyptic world, and it was a very unique take on it. My eyes are open. And so with that in mind, so you have won some awards with Sado 48, but let's talk about Sado 48. How long have you been involved with it? Because they've been around for quite some time.
Yeah, they've been around for I think it this they just had their 21st season.
Yeah, yeah. 2006, I think I was reading, is when I think Jeff and Jow, they're the ones who created that. And I'm going to try to have
Mhm.
them on as guests. We got to meet and talk, and they're really great guys. And so how long have you been involved with them then?
I started back in, I believe it's 2018 is when I started. And so I've been this was my this last year was my or this year was my 8th year of doing Sado. So I have 2 more years left and then I will have my decade
Okay.
of filmmaking. No, I got into it honestly. It's kind of a funny story. A lot of the people that I met at a Sato event. I was trying to get into the local theater here. I was a commercial videographer, so I had my own business. I make little nonprofit commercials is what I do for a living, and I love that. You know, I love being able to tell stories for small businesses and non for profits. So, anyways, I was kind of looking for something to do, and so I auditioned for a bunch of shows in town, and it's not that the theater groups are snobbish, they're just a little cliquish sometimes, and if they don't know you, they're not gonna cast you sometimes, and I get it, totally get it. So I didn't really know anybody. I called out, reached out to a couple people, and I got asked somebody said, "Hey, you ought to come to this Sado 48 thing," and I was like, "What's that?" And they're like, "It's a 48-hour film competition." I was like, "Oh, cool." And so I went to this summer event. I met several people at that event. And then we later on like talked about that next year's event. I was like, hey, let's get together and let's do this. Let's do Sado. And so I got into it. And I mean, these are all the same people that I'm still working with, 10, 8, 9 years later.
Yeah.
So
So
it's a
you found
great
your click.
event. I
You
found my
found your
little
yeah,
clique. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
And then we quickly like started expanding it. Like with the first year that we did it, we were the bad news bears. Like nobody wanted any of us on their team. And then by, year 5, we sweep the awards. It was like it was a cool feeling. And it was kind of one of those things that and I've been very blessed to win awards. I've had a lot of films and my kind of thing is I love French New Wave. I love, very surreal films. And the thing is like, it's those resonate more with the audience, I think, on a memory level. So people will see a film and like one year, the film that I did that swept, I had the only black and white film in the
Oh,
whole
really?
competition. Yeah, and I also did it like in the 4:3 aspect ratio, which is kind of like The Lighthouse or those type of films. And they were popular at the time, but nobody else did that. So then everyone, when they would talk about, hey, did you see the black and white film? It stuck out in people's minds. I think it stuck out in the judges' minds. And so we did really good that year. And the funny thing is the next year there were a bunch of black and white films.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's funny. That's
so
funny. You're a
that
trendsetter within Sato.
a little bit, A little
Yeah.
bit. You can definitely tell, like, I'll do something this year, and then somebody else will jump in and do it the next year, and they'll do it better, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
It'll be like 6 westerns. I think you were the only if I remember correctly, you were the only western theme
I was the
because
only Western.
this year's theme was conflict, right? So Sato 48, so I've had other guests on y'all that, we talked about Smod Castle. They do it where it's and David, and you've done that with have you done that one
Mhm.
with David and Britt? So that one is
Yeah, we did it
where
2 years in a row. Yeah.
yeah, Kevin Smith, he gives them a bunch of stuff and then they just go. Sato's a little different. You guys get the packet and have a whole evening to prepare, correct? Whereas when Kevin Smith releases his packet, I believe you have exactly 48 hours from when you get the packet.
37.
37 hours. So you have 37
Yeah.
hours. And so it's a little bit of a different format, but it's similar in the sense of they're given like a theme. So this year's theme was conflict. So for you, you did La Mercenario, a Western theme. And so what was an inspiration? Like, is that something that had been in your head since last year? Like, well, last year you did a French one, like you were talking about La Rive or La
Le
Rev,
Rev.
La
Yeah, Le
Rev,
Rev.
and you
The
won
dream
award
is what that
the
means, yeah.
dream. So you won awards for that. So in your head, were you like, I got to be artsy again, or you're like, no, I love Western. So what was the inspiration for that one?
Well, like I said, I've always had and if I mean, that was what got me my love for making movies was Westerns, that was, like, the thing that I always loved watching, when I was a kid. So I always I guess I wanted to get that exercise out of my head, go like, "Let me just make a Western." I'm a huge Sergio Leone fan. I love just his style and his music and all that kind of stuff, and
Heck yeah.
kind of the quirkiness of that kind of revisionist, Western. So, I just wanted to scratch that itch, to be very honest. I wanted to get it out of my system because it's kinda one of those things you go, "Let me just get it done. Let me just get," and I loved making a Western. Like, there was a lot of things that we did in it that I would change at this point, but there was also some really good shots that I was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm glad I did that. Yeah, I got that out of my system."
No, it was different. It was, I remember it still. It was the very first one. So here's what's do you hate going first because there's 54 more, or do you like that your film was first? Because I still remember, I mean, because, I watched 54 more after yours, but I still remember yours because one, we both talked about it before, and I have a love for Westerns. I think I even commented, did you get the music correct? You're like, you know what I mean? And you're saying like your son couldn't help you this year, so that was different for you.
Yeah.
And but your conflict was he didn't want to be a bounty hunter anymore. So it wasn't like a conflict versus one like his conflict was an
Mhm.
inner conflict. Did supporting actor, was it Death that won? I don't know who won, but you got best supporting actor. Was it the girl who
Yeah,
played?
that
So
Jennifer Battelle. So
okay, so
she's also my friend that does Ghost Talk. Like, so she was the producer and she was in Ghost Talk, and her and I've acted several times on the stage together. So she's a very, very, very accomplished performer,
yeah.
and we've done shows down in Branson together. And so I usually pull Jen on because I think she's one of the best actresses around. So
Yeah, she was great. I felt your makeup designer had a little Sith, Star
yeah,
Wars,
it does. Yeah,
inspiration.
yeah.
I felt there's a little bit of Sith in there. So you guys also won, if I'm correct, best editing. So you got
Best
best
editing. Yep.
editing, and then there's a nerd award. And since you were a Western, you guys got
Yep.
thrown in. Now I know this year there's some stuff going on. There was some issues, and so that might change. But it's got to feel good. You've kept this ball rolling. So with that in
No,
mind,
yeah, everybody will keep their awards. There was a software glitch, and not all the films got judged correctly. So they're going to go back and they have another film festival coming up in October called Five Fest. So a lot of these films that were from Sato, you're going to see them probably get re-edited because they
yeah,
have time to re-edit them and
sure.
make them look nice and polish them. And they have to be 5-minute films, and they're going to go into the Five Fest film competition. And it's more, you're going to get a lot more stuff from all over the world at the Five Fest one.
Okay, okay,
And so then they'll have another award ceremony, but they're going to go ahead and rejudge 25 films that
okay.
didn't get judged, and they're going to go ahead and judge them. And there's going to basically be two separate groups that win for 2026.
Oh,
And
okay,
20, I
nice.
don't think they do that forever, but just this year, that's what they're going to do.
Because of
So
that,
that,
yeah.
yeah,
No, that's good. I'll have to keep that in mind for October. I saw the Sato 48. So if anybody's curious, you can go to it's just SATO 48. They have a website, www SATO48.com. It gives you right now, you can only see past winners. You can see entries from like 24, 25, and all that. 26 probably hasn't been updated because of the software glitch, but it
Mhm.
has like different showings because different theaters will show. And then the Five Fest, I saw a little bit about Five Fest on there. So if anybody's watching, I'll put that link in the video when I post this on the different channels. And so with that, so with your Western theme, we're going to go into a Mount Rushmore. We're going to do a little Mount Rushmore of, I haven't done this yet with anybody, and I'm excited because I'm a Western fan just like you. So we're going to do our Mount Rushmore of Western. So I'm going to give you your choice. So it's your choice, player's choice. Do you want to do the movies themselves? Do you want to do characters? With Brittany, we did villains and heroes with horror movies. Instead of doing just horror movies, we did her favorite villains and heroes.
Mhm.
I'm thinking movies since we just
Yeah, let's do
there's so
movies.
much we could probably get into, like because Sergio Leone will be. I'll just pick Sergio Leone, then I'll do a side shot of Sergio Leone, then I'll do another side. You know what I mean? So
That's
if we
right.
did directors, because he's one of my favorites too. So I'll let you get the ball rolling. So if you were going to do a Mount Rushmore of movie posters or of movies, what would be one of your four? And it doesn't have to be number one through four. Just what would have to
I'll
be
go
on
in
there for you?
reverse. So I'll
Okay.
go in reverse, because I think I'm gonna have to have an honorable mention in
Okay.
mine.
Okay.
So let's see here. So 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. Okay, I got that one. So I would say my number 4, and this might be a little bit of a hot take because I know some people really, really, really like this film,
Yeah.
and it's a Western to me, but it's a little bit more of like eating candy as a Western. It's a little more sugary for me, is
Okay.
Tombstone. Tombstone is one
Tombstone.
of it's not the most realistic Western in my opinion, but it is definitely one of those it's kinda like, it's it's just a fun movie to watch. There's a lot to chew up on that film, and I really, really like it. I love all the acting in it. Some of it's over the top, but it's really good, It's like it's good over the top.
Yeah, that's a good one. So I have a quick question about that for you. We're gonna get this is where we'll start talking about our love of westerns. We'll get a little off topic, but everybody hopefully will have a good time with this one. What were your thoughts on so Tombstone was so amazing. Val Kilmer killed it, right? But Wyatt Earp came out the same year and it just didn't do well. But I watched Wyatt Earp later down the road, and Dennis Quaid actually was a really good Doc Holliday
He
as
was
well.
amazing.
So
Yeah.
what were your thoughts on Wyatt Earp later down the road? Because Tombstone was just so much fun in a movie theater. Like you said, it was like popcorn, it was like candy. It was the kind of Western that could do well in a movie theater because it
Yeah.
had quotable lines, it had good laugh out loud moments,
Right.
it had romance, it dealt with, his Wyatt Earp's love interest and things like that, right? But Wyatt Earp, do you feel like it lost a lot of its luster just because of Tombstone? Because I think it was Tombstone first and then Wyatt Earp was a few months later. I can't remember the order that
Yeah,
year.
it was I was in the Navy when that came out, and I went and
Okay.
saw Tombstone at the movie theater probably 5 or 6 times. I saw Wyatt Earp one time, and I will just say this, I'm a huge Kevin Costner fan. I love a lot of his movies. His actually the honorable mention Western that I have is
I bet you it'll be on my Mount Rushmore. Your honorable mention might be on my Mount Rushmore
okay.
because one of his is on my Mount Rushmore.
But the problem that Wyatt Earp had that Tombstone didn't, and this is I think you see this in a lot of films. Tombstone didn't take itself seriously, and Wyatt Earp took itself too seriously. And at the time, it's about point of entry into it. And I think because Tombstone hit the market quicker, and because westerns, it kind of there wasn't a lot of westerns that were coming out. Unforgiven had come out, prior to that, a couple years prior to that. So the, Unforgiven kind of hits in the middle between Tombstone and Wyatt Earp, as far as like drama and all that kind of stuff. And I think Wyatt Earp just took itself way, way, way. And it's a touch pretentious, in my opinion. It's like Dances with Wolves meets another, like The Mailman. And it was like, okay, this is
Or
too
the
much.
Postman. The
The
Postman was
Postman. Yeah, yeah,
because
yeah.
I liked the Postman. I liked
I
Will
did too.
Patton's villain,
Hmm.
but the Postman, like you said, I think it. You're right. A lot of Kevin Costner's movies do air towards pretentious because when you watch Waterworld, I don't remember loving Waterworld the first time it came out, but when I
Yeah,
rewatched it, I
I
remember
like it.
thinking Waterworld's freaking good movie actually.
Yeah,
And then the
it is.
Postman's a really good movie, but when you're
Mhm.
in the theater, you're like, It's almost, or I don't know. Same thing with his new one, American
Yeah,
Horizon. I was
that
so bummed. It
it
had
is
so many good elements, but the pacing of it was just, there's
pacing was
something wrong.
horrible. It
Yeah,
was
there
like,
was.
I don't need to sit here for a minute to 2 minutes to see someone driving a stake into the ground. I just don't, and that opening kicked my butt right off the bat. I was like, "Come on, let's pick up the
Yeah.
pace on this." Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, okay, so Tombstone, great. Tombstone's a good one. Well, I was gonna lead with my Kevin Costner one, but I'm not going to. I'm gonna go with the Charles Bronson one. One of my favorite is Once Upon a Time in the West.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
music, everything about it, and some people don't like it, but it's just something about it is
The opening gunfight in
opening
that
gunfight, and
is
then, dude,
it's
when he shows
beautiful.
up,
The build up and the setup to it.
ah,
That's my only problem with Once Upon a Time in the West. That's why it didn't make my list. So I'll just say
okay.
it did not make my list. I love Sergio Leone. I love Henry Fonda. I love Jason Robards. I love all those guys. But
Yeah,
Once Upon a Time in the West kind of verges on being a little too long for me. It's a little draggy, but
yeah,
there are a few scenes in it that are really good and that honestly, there's parts in it I am uncomfortable watching in Once Upon a Time in the West, like the family that
yep.
gets
Yeah,
not to
it's
spoil anything.
no, no, it's got stuff in it where you're like, "Oh, wow,
It's
this
brutal.
is."
Yeah.
Yeah, even thinking about, since it was made in the '60s, you're like, "Oh, wow, that was actually on a big
Yeah.
screen." Now you watch something like, what's the Christian Bale one that ripped the crap out of my heart, but, the family right off
310
the
to
bat.
Yuma,
Not 3:10 to Yuma, it was the one with, he's a retired soldier and he has to take the Indians back. What's the name of it? It's
Hostels. Is it
Hostel.
no?
That no, it's the Hostel, and that rips you up, and it
Yeah,
has
that's a
stuff on
rough movie.
screen. So westerns had to deal with that though. Like, people think, like, like my wife just watched Little House on the Prairie, the Netflix one, 6
Yeah.
episodes, and it's good, but it's like it doesn't deal with the brutality that they, and then the director
Yeah.
even said, "Well, there was just, it wasn't made, like, the West wasn't built by toxic men and stuff." And it's like, no, it really was.
Yeah.
Like, it actually
That's why
was.
we
There
had
was a lot of.
gunfights all the
Yeah,
time. Yeah.
yeah, that's like a show like Deadwood, like a show with Deadwood was, like, more like, people couldn't handle all the swearing and all the craziness, but that really was kinda like what it really was, and, but anyway, yeah, Once Upon a Time, I just love Charles Bronson. I almost picked the first Magnificent Seven because his scene in
That's a
that,
great movie. Yeah.
it's a great one, but I'm driven by music, and once, like, when your hero has a certain theme music every time he shows up.
I almost had a
Yeah.
harmonica in my movie just because of that,
I
because
would've
I
clapped.
love
I would've stood up and clapped at the end. If your guy had an harmonica, I seriously would've been like, "I know what you're referencing. That is awesome." Yeah,
I had a
that's
prop
funny.
that's actually still out in my garage, and I had pulled that prop. I said, "We're gonna have to try to find a place to put this harmonica in here," and I never found a
Yeah.
spot to do it.
No, maybe when he was around the fire, but that would've been weird watching
Yeah,
him playing harmonica. Yeah,
yeah.
that probably wouldn't have worked so well. Yeah, so all right, so we've got one for each of us, so what's gonna be your second one?
So, my number 3 is I'm gonna say my number 3 is this is a John Ford. It's not The Searchers. I think that I hate to say it, Searchers is a little overrated for me as a John Ford film, but I'm a huge fan of The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance because it has number 1, it's black and white. I love black and white. It's John Ford, Jimmy Stewart. John Wayne actually takes a back seat in this film. It's probably one of the first ones that he ever took like a big back seat after he made
Yeah,
it. I believe it's Maureen O'Hara, Lee Marvin, Lee Van Cleef is even in it, Strother Martin. So it's one of those films that I've watched it so many times when I was a kid. I even quote it every now and then. Like it's actually made it into my vernacular of things that I'll say about people, you
yeah.
know.
That's funny.
But The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance is probably my number 3, and it's one that I've watched a gazillion times, and I just love it.
Yeah, we grew up, my dad, big John Wayne. So our household growing up was a lot of John Wayne stuff and Cowboys, Sons of Katie Elder, things like that. And so
Yeah.
that one was hard for me. That one and the Shootist or the Shooter.
Mhm.
Those were two
The
hard ones for
Shootist.
me. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Shootist. Those were two hard ones for me. But now that I'm older, you go back and like those are two they're more phenomenal now because you appreciate the drama,
Mhm.
you appreciate some of those other things. Whereas as a kid, of course, the Cowboys,
Mhm.
was sad. That I had a bunch of brothers, so the sons of Katie Elder. So there was more
Right.
things there to connect to as when I was a kid growing up. But yeah, no, great one. No black and white ones made mine. I'm not that artsy fartsy. I'm not like Tom. So number two for me, we're just gonna get it off the books. Needs to be on somebody's Mount Rushmore. The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. It's my favorite Western of all time. It's about as flawless of a movie. It is very long, would be its only flaw, I would say, but it is everything you would want in a hero, especially in these days of anti-heroes. If you
Yeah.
haven't watched Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, and you love anti-hero movies, Eastwood's not that good of a guy, actually, if you really think about it. So,
No. No.
you know what I mean? But he's awesome. Everything about it. Lee Van Cleef, Eli Wallach, Tuco is one of my favorite characters on screen.
That's the
I had
name
a
of my dog.
Tuco? Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was gonna say Eli Wallach? No, Tuco sounds more like a dog name. But I even have a segment. We're gonna do a segment here in a little bit called "The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly" because it is one of the most. I remember growing up, my dad WTBS would play "Good, the Bad, and the Ugly,"
Oh,
and
yeah.
it would play "It's a Mad, 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 Mad World" or "The Good, and the Bad, and the Ugly." And if either of those movies were on WTBS at night, my dad would let me skip school the next day and stay up and watch them. And they were long movies, so like we
That's a
were
good
staying up.
dad. That's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
really
no,
good dad.
we were staying all the way up to like midnight, and those were two of my favorite movies growing up. Were It's a Mad, 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 Mad World. Never watch it. You got to check it out. I haven't watched it in quite some time, so
It's
I'm
still
assuming
good.
I'm assuming the humor
It's
still
still
holds
good.
up
Yeah.
because it's that old school humor. I mean, even the Three Stooges show up in one
Oh,
scene
yeah.
as like
That's one of
firefighters.
that
As
is
one of the
one of
best
the
cameos.
single best that's one of the
Yeah,
single best cameo scenes ever done. Most
yeah,
people nowadays, this current generation probably doesn't even know it, but that scene in and of itself, the whole plane scene with Mickey Rooney and Buddy
oh
Hackett.
yeah.
And by the way, I am distantly related to Buddy Hackett.
Really,
So my great aunt who was on the other side of the family,
yeah,
that's her cousin.
really
Yeah, and
nice.
so she and he was never around, but when they were kids, they used to hang out and play
Oh
together
yeah.
and stuff like that, but it was Buddy Hackett, yeah.
Buddy Hackett, Mickey Rooney. It's just what a great cast. If you guys have never seen It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, and if you want to watch old school 60s, 70s stuff, Good and the Bad and the Ugly, great 60s. Mad, 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 Mad World, I think is mid 60s, early 60s, I believe.
Yeah,
Great.
Good, the Bad,
It
the Ugly
had
came out in '68 in
yeah,
the
and
US. It came out in '67 overseas.
yeah, and so it's Mad, Mad, Mad World. What was so unique about that one? That's not a western. It's a comedy. It's a caper. It's a heist. They're trying to go find buried treasure, and it had every comedian of that time. So
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of a movie in the last 10 years that did something like that, where just there's like Hollywood isn't really doing that kind of stuff other than like Avengers, right? Like Avengers,
right.
Doom's it's pulling everything you can from these comic books, all these different worlds, like the new one that's coming out, Doomsday. It's going to pull all these things, but it's a mad, 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 mad world capitalized on every successful comedian of that day and put them all in a movie. Rat Race kind of reminded
Yeah,
me of
it
that.
kinda was.
It
It
kind
kinda
of,
was.
just wasn't as a big of a scale, but okay. So Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for me, number two. So we got two each. What are you going to go with for yours? Did I spoil Good, the Bad, and the Ugly for you, or did you?
You
You're like,
did,
"That's
but
not
we'll
making
come back
mine."
to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, we'll
yeah,
come back to
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah.
I think my 3rd one would be Unforgiven is
Unforgiven?
probably the one that I remember I saw it in the movie theater, and the thing that was this kinda just will probably wind up spinning 2 or 3 times here talking about The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly and influence, but I had been back in the day, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly came out in a 2 VHS, pack, so if you went to the store to go rent it, you had to use in it there was a scene, where the train's coming in and there's a dead body on the front of the train. That was the cutoff part on the tape, and I used to go and watch this movie, and I would watch it several times, but I this is where my affinity for Clint Eastwood came, was from watching this movie, and when I think I was a senior in high school, maybe a junior in high school when Unforgiven came out, and me and my buddy, we would watch The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, like, I don't know, once a quarter, right?
Sure.
And so
Yeah.
we would spend the night, we'd stay up late, pop a bunch of popcorn, watch Good, the Bad, the Ugly. Anyways, when Unforgiven came out, this is the first Clint Eastwood movie that we saw at the movie theater, right? And it was a big deal. And we got there and watched the movie, and I was like absolutely floored because I loved this movie so much because it had it was, number one, it was revisionist and it kind of fit with the world at that time of, making, Westerns, and nobody had seen anything like this up to this point. It's kind of like this was amazing. Like this was really cool. It had Gene Hackman in it. It had, anybody you could think of at the time that was like really great actors were all in it. And Unforgiven, I've I've watched it several times. I still love a lot of the dialogue in it. It's great. It's written. It's got a great ending. It's got a great beginning. There's only one part in it I'm not a huge fan of. I really wish they would have spent a little more time making it. But other than that, the whole rest of the film is absolutely just is beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, it's one of the greatest. The problem with the Unforgiven was it was a slow burn, but it's one of the greatest payoffs of all time. Like they're literally, if you were to make a Mount Rushmore of best slow burn payoffs, probably Unforgiven has to at least be up there or an honorable mention. Like because when you think of slow
Right
burns,
next to Wind River.
Wind River, oh, of course, Wind River.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
one of my
here,
favorite slow burns.
so Wind River, I almost want to put so on my Mount Rushmore of westerns. I debated Wind River or Hell or High Water because they're modern day
Yeah,
westerns,
and
and
they're
they're
both
really
slow
fun.
burns. Yeah.
And they're both slow burn phenomenal movies. Like Taylor Sheridan is like the new goat. Like he just can't do wrong. Like Mayor of King's, like everything this guy does is just like holy freaking cow. Like calm
They're
down,
kind of
dudes. Make a sucky movie.
They're kind of the same movie though all
They
the
are
time.
though.
In
They
my
are, but
opinion,
yeah.
it's like, let's hop to the bad guys. Okay, we're gonna tell it from the good guys this time. Okay, let's
Yeah,
go to the
yeah,
bad
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Sicario
yeah.
2, and things like that. I mean, I get it, but the formula for me, for just how I wanna when I sit down and wanna have a good time, that guy just writes with my formula in mind, you know what I mean?
Mhm,
Every once in a while, and that's a good conversation for another day, is what person or director just gets you? Like, like, it's like they
mhm.
can do no wrong, you know? For me, that's Taylor Sheridan, so but, yeah, no, good stuff. Well, so Unforgiven is 3 for you, so 3 for me. Let's just do I wanna know your honorable mention before I give my so I'm gonna give my 3rd one fourth. My
Mhm.
3rd one is going to be Tombstone. Tombstone is one, it's still the most quotable Western of all time.
Right,
Val Kilmer, it is one of the greatest. Listen, you put Val Kilmer as Doc Holliday, you put Heath Ledger as the Joker, and then you do everything else. That's when it comes to supporting actors. When it comes
right.
to supporting actors who steal, who you can't, when you
Oh,
walk
yeah.
away, like Heath Ledger, nobody thought he would be this great Joker. Steals the movie. To this day, everybody thinks about, even though there's so many other awesome parts about that movie, you still think about his role. Val Kilmer. Dude, there's so much good about Tombstone, yet you just can't stop thinking about freaking Val Kilmer's role. It was that phenomenal.
Yeah,
So
and
yeah, Tombstone, just a great movie.
it's you see it a lot, and I think there's actually a psychology to it, not only from the audience's perspective, but actually the person that gets to play that supporting role is because I've played I'm not like tooting my own horn or anything here, but I've played a lot of lead parts in stage plays. I've been blessed to be able to have a lot of really great lead parts in stage plays. There is a psychological feeling that if you're not the lead, then you don't have to be the quarterback. You can be there's the pressure's off, you know? Now, but if you're the lead, you gotta keep everybody in pace on on a stage, and there's a lot to do, and there's a lot that you're carrying on your shoulders if you're the lead, right? But if you're supporting, pressure's off. It's kinda like that kid brother that runs around and goes, "Hey, let's go do this," and that's exactly what and it's like you look at Unforgiven, Morgan Freeman, he was the
Sure.
supporting cast.
Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman, the pressure's off on them. They just get to go and play every day,
Yeah.
The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, Tuco, supporting
So
character.
yeah.
He chews up the screen. You see it in every single movie, and I've told people, I don't know how many times, it's no fun being the lead.
Yeah, I bet. It's
It's
that
not a
pressure.
fun role because there's a lot of pressure on you, and you can tell because you watch some of these movies and you see those supporting characters, and they just have so much fun on stage
Yeah.
or on camera.
Yeah, and a lot of times they're the writer. As a writer, maybe you can attest to this,
Yep.
but they seem to be the one that drives something that needs to be driven, that makes a climactic choice for the lead, and that makes them so much more valuable. So psychologically, their performance will stick in our mind a little bit more.
Well, in a lot of cases, they are the writer. So the
Yeah,
writer actually writes themselves into those films and they write themselves as that supporting character.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's a good way to think about it. I never thought about it like that because I have a story in mind, but like I'm the main character and it's not working. So maybe I need to make myself the side character.
You're having those main character vibes.
The main character is like, well, what would I have done? And so like it's like you know what I
Right.
mean? It's just like little fun little thing I do on the side. I've chatted with my wife about it and friends, but
Yeah.
yeah, just silly little thing. But yeah, no, that's good. Yeah, so no, but Tombstone has to be up there. So for me, it's got to be there. So number 4 for you, I guess there we already know what it is.
We
But
already know, yeah.
let's go with your honorable mention though. I'm curious if your honorable mention. I think his honorable mention is going to be my number 4.
Okay.
All right.
My honorable mention is Open Range.
Yes. Correct.
I absolutely love it.
Open yeah.
And talk about a slow burn, but it's a great it's a great slow and that's what I love about slow burns is that as long as there's a great payoff on that slow burn, I'm willing to go on that journey
Yeah.
because the next time I watch it, it's kind of like I know Christmas is coming and I know I'm going to get to see this scene and there's so many good things. And the gunfight at the end of Open Range is it's what I would assume was the most realistic gunfight. You know, is like that's been portrayed on like these guys are standing
Yeah.
5 feet from each other and they're missing each other, and the bullets are going around like this,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love that, and I love the fact that you know Kevin Costner walks up and takes out the baddest guy
Yeah, yeah.
right off the bat,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah, and
like
so
that
then
was
everything
perfect.
else is like yeah, yeah, and like, so with open range, I used to always tell my wife, like, when we first got together, I would quote, "How's this gonna work if you don't do what I say?" And so that's what Kevin Costner says in Open Range. It's one of my favorite lines of any movie. He also has another one. I always misquote it, correct me if I'm wrong. It's like, "There's something greater that gnaws at a man than dying," or something like that. Remember, he's in the tavern and the dad and the sons he doesn't wanna die, and he's like, "There's something that."
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a I do it disservice, but if you can watch the movie, it's just this amazing scene where Kevin Costner's character is a man of few words in the movie. Robert Duvall is awesome
yeah.
in this movie and carries a lot of
He's
the
bucket mouth.
dialogue, and he's a lot of humor. Yeah, he's pretty awesome in it. I mean, we could probably make a whole episode just about Robert Duvall, of course,
Yeah,
when especially when it comes to supporting actors. Like the guy carries like so much stuff. I
yeah,
mean, he steals so many different movies. But like you said, Open Range and Appaloosa are 2 of the greatest gunfight scenes that make me think that's how it was. I don't know.
yeah.
Appaloosa doesn't make would almost be one of my honorable mentions, but I'm not a big Renelle Zellweger fan, but man, the relationship between Ed Harris and Viggo Mortensen, I don't know if you're an Appaloosa fan, but
Hmm.
man, that fight scene seems
I
super realistic.
I've watched the movie a couple times. It was never anything like I hate to say it, but if I'm gonna watch those 2 movies, I'd rather just watch Open Range again
Sure, sure. Yep, yeah.
because there's so much for me. You've got sorry, there's
No
like
worries.
Robert Duvall, there's Annette Bening, and then again, it's like Kevin Costner, if he's gonna pull out a performance that is, you know, in Kevin Costner's style of acting, which is very, very subdued acting, that was a great film to have.
It's his most perfect
In
character. I think
Yeah,
it's his most
it
perfect
actually
character.
fit. Yeah,
Yeah.
because if you look at that and the contrast would be Silverado for him.
Which that's an honorable mention. If we were to have 2 Mount Rushmores, I think
Right.
Silverado would be on my second one. I loved Silverado
It
growing
was
up
the rebirth of the
personally.
Western is what it
Yep.
really was
So
because
much
it
fun. What
had
a fun movie.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of Silverado is very much is like a popcorn
Sure.
movie for me.
I saw it in the theater. I think that's my
Did
first
you
Western in
really?
the theater.
Wow.
My
Well,
dad
I
well,
yeah,
he
I
we would go to stuff in the theaters when we were like 5.
wow,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no. Pretty much anything out in the '80s I saw, we would, like, go to Saturday matinees and things like
What was the
that.
first movie you remember going to see at the movie theater?
Ooh, that's a good question. I wanna say it has to either be that I remember the can't I don't know the years, but I don't know if it was a re-release, but E.T. or Goonies. I just remember being a little kid getting in trouble. We were
Mhm.
throwing popcorn over the balcony and E.T., Goonies. I remember both of those in the theater, and I wanna say we got to go see a Return of the Jedi similar early '80s.
Mhm.
I was like
Yeah.
4 I was like 5, 6. Yeah, so I mean, it was, in Quincy, Illinois, the Adams Theater. It's not there anymore,
I
but
think my first one I don't remember seeing the movie. I remember parts of it, but for whatever reason, when Star Wars was out, they had everybody like the first Star Wars, New Hope, they had
yeah,
people dressed up
yeah.
in some of these costumes out in the lobby, and I remember walking in as a little kid seeing Chewbacca, not even knowing because I'd never seen the film yet, right? And I'm like, "Scared to death," and we go in there, and I remember the scene that got me was C-3PO walking across Tatooine with a big skeleton snake that was on or the serpent
Yeah.
skeleton across the desert, and that one just stuck out to me for a longest time. I was like, it just didn't make any sense, but I was probably I think it was like 3 years old, 4 years old, so I can still remember that, and then I remember seeing Hooper at I remember seeing that at the movie theater. My parents took me to go see Hooper, and I
Listen, it's so funny that you mentioned Hooper. So my next episode I'm recording is gonna be about remakes, and I want Ryan Gosling, since he was so awesome in The Fall Guy,
you know what's funny?
I would love Hooper to be remade because it's an amazing that's Jan Michael Vincent
Jan Michael Vincent and
and
Burt
Tom
Reynolds.
Cruise and Burt Reynolds, not Tom Cruise, Burt Reynolds, and it's about stuntmen, and Hooper is awesome, and I
Yeah,
remember Hooper too. I remember that
yeah.
movie. It was so freaking cool in the '80s. I don't know if it was it made in I remember watching it in the '80s, but I think it
Well,
was made in the
he
'80s.
here's the yeah, it was made in the '70s. It was like 78, 79,
Okay.
I think is when it came out, but here's the funny thing, The Fall Guy is based off of the director that directed Hooper.
Really?
Yeah, so the Fall Guy TV show was kinda based off of what's it I can't remember, is Burt Reynolds' best friend, right? And they were the ones
Yeah.
that were making all he was I think he was like one of Burt Reynolds' stuntmen or whatever, which is based off of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is that whole story. It's so just the influence from Hooper, that director of that was also a stuntman, and that's where Fall Guy kinda came out, like, what Hooper is what started the Fall Guy.
Really? I
Yeah,
didn't
so
know
that's
which one was
all
which. Yeah, that's good to know. I
yep.
didn't know that. Yeah,
Because Lee
Hooper.
Majors was kind of trying to, play a little bit of, like, the whole Burt Reynolds side. But, yeah,
He
that
was
all
like
came
he
out.
was he was like TV Burt Reynolds. So there was Burt
Yeah,
Reynolds in the
yeah,
movies, and then you
yeah.
gotta have the TV version, and so that was, Lee Majors. Because
And he
was
had
he also
the
yeah,
sidekick young kid, just like a Jan Michael Vincent thing, so
yeah,
yeah.
the new kid that was gonna come up and stuff,
Mhm.
and so that's the one thing in the Fall Guy because I really loved when I on the next episode, I'll probably chat a little bit about the Fall Guy as that's one of the reasons why I like remakes is stuff like the new Fall Guy I enjoyed. It was a fun
Well,
one for me.
you sent me ahead some of the ideas or questions that I had of films.
Mhm.
I was telling you earlier, there's a film that I watch all the time that I shouldn't like. It's The Fall Guy. I
Oh,
absolutely
so
love that film.
okay, no, yeah, so The Good, the Bad, the Ugly is your 4th. Your
Mhm.
honorable mention is Open Range. Mine's Open Range is my 4th. And so with that out of the way, let's just go right into it. So we're both fans of The Good, and the Bad, and the Ugly. It was on both, we both chatted about it. So one of the segments so everybody knows, I usually I don't want my guests to be, most of the stuff is
So you're
organic conversation, but when it comes to movies, it's hard. Like when you love so many films, it's really hard to be asked a question on the spot. So what I usually do with my guests is I do send them an email and say, hey, these are the couple different segments I do. So one of the segments we both thought would be a fun one is the good, the bad, and the ugly, since it's kind of a West. We're both big Western guys. And so for you, we're going to do with the good, the bad, and the ugly. So we're going to go with the good first. And so what was something in this last year? It could be recent. It could be, end of last year, something like that. And it doesn't have to be something in the theater. It could be a show. It could be something, like a prime movie. What was something that you were just engaged but what's something like you were locked in, there was no distraction, you didn't even want to go pee, like it was like I got to watch this. Is there anything like that for you in this last couple months or year?
Yeah, I watched, it wa and I think it was released last year, but I watched a film called Begonia,
Oh yeah, Begonia.
and I absolutely loved that film. It was one of the I can't remember the director's name. Let me see if I can look him up.
I can't remember it
He
either.
let's see.
Nerds, get on that. I'll get it for you. You keep going. I'll find you the director while you
So
share why you loved it so
so
much.
I
Yorgos
watched it
Lanthimos.
yes.
Yorgos Lanthimos.
So
That's why it's
he
hard to
also
remember, no
directed
offense.
The Lobster, and there's
Yeah.
another film called The Killing of a Sacred Deer, and I haven't
Which I
watched
haven't
those 2
seen.
yet.
I wanna see I've seen Lobster, I
Yeah.
haven't seen The Killing yet.
So, I watched Begonia, and it for whatever I mean, of course, Jesse Plemons was in it. I think he's a phenomenal actor. It was just I was engaged the whole time, and the cinematography is fine, but it just doesn't get in the way, and that's the problem sometimes I think with cinematography is, like, you have some of these great camera angles and, bokeh and all this kind of stuff, but it gets in the way of telling the story sometimes. And this one, it just didn't get in the way. It was really just you don't even see the edit, in my opinion. I just didn't see the edit. And it was a great story. It was funny. It was sad. It kind of checked all the
Yeah.
boxes for me. And it was just super weird in the end. But that was the one. And I've told more people about it this year. I was like, go watch Begonia because it's really, really good. And there's even some gore in it. And it was kind of it was really well thought out film.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
Begonia's a good one. My buddy, so a couple episodes ago, I had some friends on just talking about aliens. It really wasn't about movies. And Aaron Clemens and his brother Marcus had texted me saying, "Hey, me and Aaron just watched this movie. You got to check it out." And it was Begonia. And
Mhm.
I remember texting back, "Hey, we just thought about watching it." And he's like, "There's just something about it. You got to watch it." So we watched it that night, and it's just one of those movies that Christina didn't like it that much, but me, it had subject matter that I don't know if I would ever want to watch it again. So, like, I have a list of movies, like my favorite movies I never want to watch again, and Begonia might be on that list. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think I could watch one of the ending scenes with I just don't think I could watch one of those scenes in the basement. I don't think it was too much for me to see that.
Right.
Certain subject matter just bothers me. But it had an ending that was so like, it could have went like,
It went anywhere.
what's beautiful about that movie is, like, I don't know if you're like with me, I try to guess everything. I had to keep changing my
Yeah.
guess, and all of
Yeah.
my guesses could have been correct because it really was, like, it could have went so many different directions, and that's one of the things that was so good about it is he picked one of the endings, but it could have had so many different endings. Like, it just was so
Oh,
phenomenal.
yeah.
It really was a
Yeah.
good movie. I would almost put that as my ugly because there's things about it that, I could see, like, you have to be prepared for that kind of a film. It's not like your normal go to the theater, just eat some popcorn and like, it's funny, but it's not so much I don't know, I can't really call it a comedy, but it is funny. Like, there's so
Yeah.
much about that movie. It is a comedy because, like, I mean, freaking Emma Stone is
I
amazing
call it
in
a
it.
dark comedy drama
Yeah,
is what
it's
I would
yeah.
call it, yeah.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. That's a good one for me. I'm gonna change it since I've watched some more stuff recently. I'm going to put He-Man
Is the good?
as my good.
Yeah.
It was Project Hail Mary. I'm gonna switch it to He-Man because I had so much fun. I made a new friend in the bathroom while peeing over it. Now, He-Man was so much fun. It hit all the boxes for me. I have to apologize to Jared Leto. He freaking killed it as Skeletor.
He was good.
You don't even know that's
Him
Skeletor
and
unless they tell
CGI
you.
were amazing,
Yeah,
yeah.
him and CGI were amazing. Dude, when he's, like, in the jail and, you ram and you're like, just so much
Yeah.
humor, the angle of all these names coming from a little kid recreating the world, just the way they modernized it a little bit with that. It just was such a fun I bought a He-Man board game, I sent you the text.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe I'll have you over to play. I
Yeah,
gotta
let's
learn
play that.
I'm learning it, so I'm getting it all together and figuring it out. So you can play versus each other or you can play together. So it's one of those.
Really?
Yeah, you can do anything. We can all be. You can be Skeletor's faction. I can be He-Man, or we could just be like going over. It has all these scenarios. So anyway,
That's cool.
yeah. So if anybody's wondering, it's called He-Man: The Clash for Eternity. But He-Man's my good just because it could have been so bad, and I loving it as a child, I had a higher bar. I wanted it, and it hit it for me. And I'm just bummed that it is going to get a sequel. I don't know if it is going to get the sequel, even though it did not have the box office success that you would have thought it needed for the sequel. It had enough word of mouth. It had enough reviews. I think it's going to kill on streaming, and I think they know
I
it's
think it
going to
is
kill.
too.
I think they know it's going to kill on streaming
Yeah.
for the word of mouth, and so that's why. So pretty stoked. So that's my good, just because it was just a fun, nostalgic movie for me. I don't. A little side note. Okay.
I do have I kinda rewrote the script a
Okay.
little bit after watching it. I think they should have done something different
Okay.
early on in the film because, Orko for me was one of those characters that I was like, "This is a no-brainer. Why do you don't have Orko?"
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know they probably got some long idea of, like, trying to put him in there, but I really think they should have introduced Orko at the very beginning of the film, along with Cringer, you got both of those,
Yeah.
but Orko should have set up some type of a portal to help Prince Adam leave Eternia or to hide him, and he kinda messes up the spell,
Yeah.
and
And that's why he's stuck there. Yeah.
and that's why he gets stuck there, and it would have been, kinda like we would see Orko right off the bat, and I think
Yeah.
it would
Yeah.
have, like, really just, like, tugged on those nostalgia strings right off the bat, and then it's like at the end of the movie, then we find him. He comes back. But I think that was the only mistake that they had, in my opinion, in He-Man was that they just didn't have Orko in that world until till the end. No
Yeah, you
spoilers or
stay for
whatever.
the end credits.
Yeah.
So I learned this in the bathroom, but Tom's had all the. You still have a lot. You have the Castle Grayskull, so you
Yeah.
collect it. Mine's all gone. I don't want to, Mom. I know you listen to this. You got rid of it all. I still haven't forgiven you. All of my Transformers, GI Joes, and He Man are gone. They're gone, and that
Really?
sucks. They were all in a big chest, and they're gone.
Yeah.
So, oh well, such is life. But
Do you remember the smell of having all that stuff into into a box, and you'd be digging through the box like to get in, but there was a smell from
yeah,
all
so
that
our sweaty
plastic.
fingers. Well, and then your
Yeah,
sweaty fingers from all your
yeah.
brothers. Yeah, yeah. No, no.
It and nothing ever replaces that. Like there's no other smell other than, and
Just
most people.
go play Magic on a Friday night. That smell of bad hygiene.
Right.
No offense, but, I don't know if you saw this. I can't remember his name. I should look this up real quick. The guy who played Fisto. Did you see what he showed up with to the, premiere?
No.
Fisto actor. He showed up with his very own he still had his Fisto
Oh,
action
yeah, yeah,
figure,
yeah.
and he showed up with it. I wanna find out his name.
Yeah, I did
I
see
thought
that.
that was one of the coolest things. I don't do a lot of watching, award shows or things like
Yeah.
that, but when I saw that, I mean, I wanted to find the videos, I wanted to check it out. What is his name? I gotta give this guy props because I thought that was the coolest thing, and when I mean, think about this. That would be a good question for guests. I'll just ask you right now on the fly. Who would be a character that would be a childhood dream to live on screen? You as an actor, whether it's supporting or a lead, who would just be, you know what, Dustin, I dreamed of being this character. Would it be Peter Parker? Would it be, you know what I mean? Because this guy
Yeah.
got to play. That was one of his favorite.
Yeah.
That was one of his favorite characters.
I and I'll jump to another toy line. I always enjoyed GI Joe too. I used to play GI Joe all the time, but I would have loved to play like I think Snow Job from GI Joe. He was the guy with the skis and the white suit and all that kind
Yep.
of stuff.
No,
I
yeah.
always loved that actual action figure was Snow Job from that. Or there was a guy called Shipwreck. I really liked him, and if I could play that in the movie, that would be great. It
So
would kind of yeah.
you like supporting characters then for sure, because I'm kind of surprised that you wouldn't
Yeah.
have wanted to be like Duke or Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes, I'd
But
probably hurt myself.
yeah, yeah, like I can't stretch that way. You know what's really weird is I'm using Bing search him as a usually when I type in something, IMDb pops right up and it's so easy to find the cast on my phone. But using my com- but you all I'm oh, because I'm dumb. I'm under images. User user error. Nerds, why didn't you tell me this? I didn't realize I was under images this whole time. I was like, why am I getting nothing but pictures? Why can't I get this actor's name for the love of it's Johannes Hakor Johannesson. I know he's in something else. I want to give him props. He's in something else that I really, really like. That's why I was looking him up. So he shows up with Fisto in his tux pocket, in his pocket, and so that's what I thought was so cool about him. Oh yeah, he was in Gladiators. He's in Succession, but he's in some other big. Oh, he was in Captain America. Oh, he's in Vikings Valhalla. I kind of checked that out for a little bit because I liked the first Vikings. So I knew I'd saw him
Oh,
in
the
other
TV
things.
show,
Yeah, the
yeah.
TV show. Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, the guy who played Fisto, I thought that. And some of the funniest lines are when him and Fisto are at the
Yeah.
end fighting.
Yeah.
Pretty funny stuff. So He-Man was my good. So what is a one more nerd thing real quick, y'all. Did you see Danny McBride? So here's your chance. You need to reach out, get your portfolio.
I know.
Danny McBride has written G.I. Joe, and it's
Yep.
going to be the storyline of them being in that Cobra's town that they
Mhm.
made.
Yeah,
And
I
so a
just
lot
saw
of
that
those
the other
side
day.
characters, a lot of those, and if it's a mountain town, Snow Job might
Snow
be a
Job
little
will be
side
in that.
character.
Yeah.
So you need to, I know you don't want to do the Hollywood style, but man, send out a, hey, Danny McBride, if anybody ever shows you this guy wants to be Snow Job, he'll do it for free. That'll save you
I
some
will.
CG.
I
That'll
will.
save
I'll
you
do
some,
it for free.
yeah, that'll save you some budget, Danny. I know that I wasn't a big fan of your Halloween, but oh well.
Did he do a
No, no, not
Halloween?
Halloween. No, not Halloween. He did I wasn't a big fan of, yeah, no, he did the new Halloween. He did the newest one, I think.
Did he really? Huh.
Yeah, I think he was part of the newest Halloween. I can't remember.
Wow.
I'll have to double check that. I like a lot of Danny McBride. He's Pineapple Express is one of my all-time faves.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, but so yeah, GI Joe's coming out. Okay, so let's go to the bad. So, what is a Tom Baker movie that you were excited about, or someone said you got to check this out, and you're just like, nah, 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 wasn't feeling that one at all.
There's potentially 2, but I will take the safe route here because I don't want to offend because I don't wanna offend a bunch of comic book people, but the Frankenstein movie from Guillermo del Toro that came out
On
last
that,
year,
yeah.
I had a bunch of people, "Oh, you need to watch this." I watched it, I was so bored. I was so bored from watching that film. I didn't even get probably 3/4 of the way through it, and I was like, "Oh, I'm done. I'm done watching this."
But you didn't even finish it. So
No, I
it
didn't even finish it.
you don't even know if it was worth the slow burn. You don't even know.
Right,
Yeah, yeah.
right, and I probably need to go back, but to me, that's kind of a testament of a film is like if it's a slow burn, but I'm still not interested through much of it, it's kinda like the same way I hate to be like this, but the newest Superman movie, I was
You weren't a big fan of,
no,
is it gun style, or was it like you were? Because 'cause I'm a big fan of the 3 Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and so I had
yeah.
high hopes for Superman, and you had a little bit of that feel, but for me, the Superman movie, what makes it not good in my mind is Mr. Terrific should not have stole the movie, but he stole the movie. Like, how do you have
Well,
Mr. Terrific's like, for me, his fight scene's the best of the whole entire movie, and
yeah,
that shouldn't have happened.
the problem is they didn't love their hero enough, and they castrated their hero right off the bat, and that was the
Yeah.
thing that I was not a fan of. I didn't like that Superman was playing Clark Kent all the time, and it's just it was a little bit of a smack in the face to he was trying to make Superman Star-Lord, and I wasn't a fan of that. Superman is Superman. It's like there is a it's like, Christopher Reeves, even Henry Cavill, when they played
Yeah.
Superman, they had a responsibility to be not a flake, and this one here made him into a flake and kinda whiny, and I just wasn't a fan of it, and that kinda ticked me off with the character.
Yeah, you're right. You bring a good point because Christopher Reeves is the GOAT because he played Superman and Clark Kent 2 different ways, and he did them both so well. Henry Cavill just didn't do Clark Kent very well. He was
Mhm.
too broody, you know what I mean? But he did Superman really, really well. So I love
Right.
I'm a Man of Steel guy. I'm not like a Snyder bro, but I like the Snyderverse a lot, and I'm a fan of it. But you're right, Superman, I guess I just felt like I felt like, is it a part of me, like someone who loves Westerns, I like when I go to a movie, I want that masculinity. Like, I don't think all masculinity is toxic, right? And so there's like this new approach where it's like you got to almost masculine. I don't know what the word is, demasculinate or whatever. You have to like, you got to like tone down his masculinity. And I felt like Superman, I
Mhm.
get you doing Clark Kent was your way to do that. You just didn't need to do that when he was actually Superman. So I
Well,
kind of see that.
yeah. I'm here's what I mean, I think toxic masculinity's kind of been overused, but if, I've been married to the same woman for 25 years and we've been together for 31 years or whatever, right? And I would assume that there are moments that she looks over at me and she goes, "That annoys me," right? His
Yeah,
masculinity annoys me.
sure.
From the perspective of a female, sometimes I see masculinity as toxic, maybe. But is there a toxic masculinity? I don't think so.
Not to
I
the
think
perspective of us, yes.
right, because I look at it and go, well, yeah, it's do you not like it? Yeah, sure. There's some femininity I don't enjoy either.
Sure, sure.
After this many years, right? So, but I think that this I think the trend is starting to leave a little bit, but this trend of needing to water down men because we want to see their emotions or that we want to make them more emotional, I think it kind of misses the mark, and I think that I think it's lazy writing myself because it's it's like Santa Claus. It's not 100% accurate and it's not interesting. It's our masculinity is probably 98% of what drives our conflict as characters, as humans, right? And you take that away, we don't have conflict. And that makes uninteresting stories to me without conflict. And it makes characters not dynamic. And therein lies the problem, right? So if we start taking these certain elements out of people, it's like and this is a little bit of a tangent, but I see this in a lot of films and but if you look back on the old films, like let's just take The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, or let's take Once Upon a Time in the West as examples, right? The bad guys in those films were bad guys. There was nothing nice about any of them. they weren't politically correct at any point throughout the arc of that. And so it was really clear to understand who the bad guy was. But in movies nowadays, you'll have a bad guy, but he's still politically correct. And I'm like, that's not any fun. I don't want to
Yeah.
watch this. I want to move
Yeah.
on, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah.
And so I think that it's a lot of lazy writing because they don't want, they don't want to offend anybody. But unfortunately, if you're a bad guy, you're going to offend people.
You should. Yeah, that's the whole
It,
point.
if you're a bad woman, you're going to
Yeah.
offend people. It's like
Yeah.
those are things that happen. And I would say that those two movies that I mentioned, Superman and what was the other one that I said? The other bad movie,
Yeah,
Frankenstein.
yeah, Frankenstein, which I haven't seen Frankenstein, so I have nothing
I
to we
just
almost
don't.
watched it last night. We just there's nothing about the trailer that makes me wanna
Yeah,
watch it.
it's just they kind of don't have anything that's interesting about them, and I don't really care. And but I think it's because we've watered our characters down, and there's been a lot, especially in your DCU and your MCU. A
Yeah.
lot of these characters have just gotten watered down, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I wonder if it's so with the rise of the anti-hero, I wonder if that's really clouded how people write villains because they're trying to write them as their own type of hero as well. Like because every villain is the hero of their own story, right? Like Lex Luthor
Yeah.
is he thinks he's the hero. That's what's always made him a great villain, I thought,
Mhm.
So I didn't mind his iteration. I didn't mind iteration until the very end. I didn't really like it the very end personally. But yeah, I think that they're trying to make us see the villains as the hero as well, which means it has to dull down. So then that's why they got to be politically correct because there has to be something they're like, oh, they don't want to kill puppies. I don't want to kill puppies.
Right.
I now relate with this bad guy. Whereas in Lee Van Cleef, nobody relates with him. Even though Clint Eastwood, the unnamed bounty hunter, and Tuco, Blondie and Tuco are not good dudes. Lee Van Cleef is such a douche. They're the two good guys,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that's why you're right. They were defined. Henry Fonda, not known for being a villain, great
Mhm.
villain in Once Upon a Time in the West,
Yeah.
but had his own coolness, to him, and you kind of liked his character a little bit. And so, yeah, I get that. So speaking of the anti-heroes and Tuco, we're gonna transition from the oh wait, did I give my bad? I don't know if I gave my bad.
No, you didn't give your bad yet.
I'm gonna go with a comic book movie I just saw the other day, Supergirl.
Mm.
Wanted, listen, please, women, do not check out. I want you women to go to this movie, buy the movie. It is bombed. It has bombed so bad. Morbius is a box office success in comparison to Supergirl. Just so you all know, Morbius is at 163 million total
My gosh,
worldwide. Supergirl is just at 100 million, and we're talking 3 weeks now. That is
that's
not
crazy.
good. That is bad. Women, this movie was made for you. I am pro that. You need your representation. I have no problem with that. It's Supergirl. It's no different than Wonder Woman. This is your hero. Y'all need to go to the movie. It was not made for me. It is not a movie for me. It was not a good movie. It was James Gunn's one of his worst soundtracks of any movie. His music just was not. He is just getting worse and worse because what's happening? He's listening. He's used all of his best music, right?
Yeah.
Like you could see in Guardians of the Galaxy 3 that his well was starting to run dry. Peacemaker season 1, his well was plentiful. Peacemaker season
Well,
2 started to run dry again. So James Gunn, a lot of his stuff and his shtick is around comedy, but he knows music. That's why James Gunn is a favorite of mine. He knows that music drives certain scenes. Supergirl's big fight scene at the end. Was it cool was it cool that cover song? Was cool, but it just did not fit the Mad Max theme that was going on, right? So Supergirl was it was a stinker for me, man. And I wanted it. Supergirl was so bad that Jason Momoa was the best actor. And when Jason Momoa is the best actor in a movie, you need to rethink how you direct people
and it was
because
Jason Momoa playing Jason Momoa,
yeah,
correct?
it was Jason Momoa with a cigar and a wig, pretending to be Jason Momoa, pretending to be Lobo, and he was the
Right.
best actor of the movie. I'm sorry, Millie Alcock was not she's not a good act she had one good scene in House of the Dragon season 1 episode, and it's my brother and I were just talking last night. Like House of the Dragon is so disgusting that I don't even know if I can watch. I mean, the stuff in House of the like just the
I've
subject
not seen
matter.
any of
Yeah,
it.
no, the
Yeah.
subject matter is like George Martin is just got to be one of the most perverted dudes ever. I don't even know why I'm giving it my time. But so Millie Alcock, I hope you get better as an actress because Supergirl was not good. Sorry,
Well,
it was bad in my opinion.
I think James Gunn is at this point, I'm kind of scared for Man of Tomorrow or whatever that is, the new
Yeah.
Superman movie.
Superman
But
2, Man of Tomorrow. Yep.
the here's what I've seen in the last 2 films, and I've not watched Supergirl. I'm probably not gonna watch Supergirl because it
Give
wasn't
it a
you're right.
yeah, I
You're right,
mean,
it wasn't made for me, it was made for girls, and the problem is that Supergirl never got popular because girls went and watched to Supergirl. Supergirl got popular because guys bought the Supergirl comic, right?
because of how she dressed.
Right, because of how she just let's
Yeah,
just be it's that toxic masculinity is what sold comic books back in the '70s and
it's
'80s,
visual. It
right?
was porn for 12-year-olds.
Yeah. And so, sorry, that's just how it is. And, they made the money off of it, and now they wanna smack us in the face for doing that. But anyways, my point is that when they varied from that formula, surprise, you just spent $200 million on a movie and you didn't do I mean, I coulda told you I coulda told you for $100,000. They coulda paid, "Hey, Tom, we'll pay you $100,000. What's gonna make this film sell? What's
It's
gonna
not.
make a Supergirl film sell?" It's gonna be just like putting Gal Gadot in a Wonder Woman outfit and having her go up and just be sexy on screen. That's what sells tickets. I hate to say it.
Yeah, and what made Wonder Woman so good and here's the thing too, is Wonder Woman was a phenomenal movie. Y'all can love James Gunn's all you want, but Wonder Woman, the scene where she gets up in no man's land
Oh, yeah.
is a phenomenal. It's one of
It
the
was
best
beautiful,
scenes. It's a so
but
Wonder
it was
Woman was done
earned.
correctly, it was
It was
earned.
earned. That's right.
She was hot, but she was also in a group of soldiers, so there was a something that tied her to
Mhm,
humanity, something that tied her human side to humans, and these humans could die, and she was in love with one of these humans. Supergirl attaches you to the dog in the beginning. The plot's around Crypto, not to ruin it, but it's around Crypto, but then Crypto's gone throughout the whole he's not dead, but he's not a part of the rest of the movie, but he's the plot. She's trying to save him.
mhm.
But there's nothing else. Like this little girl is a horrible like her character could have been better, but unfortunately they just she's a new I don't want to poop on kid actors, but she was dry. The villain's dry. There's just nothing.
Well,
They just
yeah,
try
to
to
go
do
back
girl
though
power. It just they just don't give you anything.
I mean, this is the thing is that and, if an actor is dry, it's not the actor's fault. It's the director's fault.
Yeah. Like, yeah, I mean, that's what I've heard that, and I understand that, like, and but at the same listen, I I rewatched all 3 Guardians of the Galaxy, that's how bad Supergirl was. I wanted to love James Gunn again
Please,
because
James Gunn, I wanna love you again.
I wanted to love him again because I want Man of Tomorrow. Like, I really think this Lantern show needs to be good. Like, Peacemaker 2 was a letdown.
Yeah.
Supergirl is a letdown. I liked Superman overall, but it wasn't a favorite of mine. And it did nothing like my brother thinks it's just as good as Man of Steel. Great. I'm glad. Like, I do not want Superman to be bad. Like, there is nothing in me that's like, I'm only James Gunn. Or no, I'm only Zack Snyder, right? No, I'm not like
Right.
that. If it's a Batman movie, hey, Robert Pattinson shouldn't have been cast as Batman. Still love the movie. They did enough in that movie to make me like it. And
Oh my
I'm
gosh, it is my favorite Batman film right now. Like, it beat Dark Knight in my
oh,
opinion,
really?
the Batman, yeah.
I put it right behind The Dark Knight. It's up there, and I think I am more excited about Reeves verse than I am about Gunverse moving forward. So
Well,
like I want to see Clayface. Like in October,
yeah.
I'm pretty stoked about Clayface.
The Batman movie, I don't like the opening image, so that's a big no-no for me. It's like
Okay.
the first 2 or 3 minutes of the film, I'm not a huge fan of. I would have rewritten it and done it differently, but I still am not a huge fan of The Dark Knight with the whole, like, cell phone
The boat thing at the
thing.
end. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that. I think they should have kept it just a little bit just I know what they were trying to do. They were trying to go through for some kind of, like, cool sonic or sonar looking thing for Batman.
Yeah, yeah.
Just never was a fan of that section of the film, but the point is that both of those are to me, that's the direction that DCU needs to go. It needs to stay in the dark realm of things.
Yes.
It Zack Snyder for, he people either like him or they don't like him. He's still the creator of my favorite superhero movie ever, which is The Watchmen. I love that film. I love the director's cut. I love the comic, but I love what he was able to accomplish with that. It was truly a piece of art, like kind of built in front of it, and so much dedication and care was put into that film, and I love it, love it, love it. Still to this day, it still holds up.
Nice, nice. Yeah, we were just talking about the last episode was Gage Daily. They're doing a movie in October in Kentucky, Connecticut area. And we were talking about movies, and our theory was Watchmen was just people weren't ready for the anti-heroes yet. If Watchmen had brand new came out like 5 years ago, it would have been way more commercially successful
Sure.
because people were going to be ready. Because I remember watching Watchmen in the theater, not liking it, and now it's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Rorschach's my favorite, and I just read yesterday that the writer, I think it's Matt Millar, Rorschach is everything he hates about masculinity. Rorschach is a character that's everything he hates about people. Yeah, that's my favorite character. Rorschach is his character that he put all of his things that he hates about. So he made Rorschach to be this character, and it turns out to be the most beloved. Like everybody, most dudes, like we connect with, like the
Yeah.
scene. You're not. You think I'm in here. You think I'm in here with you.
You're in
It's
here
one of
with
the dude,
me.
it's one of
Yeah.
the best. Like, it's just it still holds up, man. It's such phenomenal. Alright, so we're gonna go alright, sorry about anybody who loves Supergirl, great. I'm glad you like Supergirl. We want you to like that. Hey, and we want you to love Superman. As like, listen, as boys trying to pretend to be men, we want our comic book movies to be awesome. We don't want them to suck. We want more comic book movies. We just want them good. We want G.I. Joe versus Transformers is what we're trying to say. So but anyway, so let's go into the ugly. Now, the ugly's a little different. So the ugly is like Tuco. Tuco's a great character on screen, but he had his warts. You know, he's not somebody you would recommend as your best dude or a good person, but there was just something about it that you love. And so what's an ugly movie where you're like, I shouldn't have liked this, or I didn't think I would like it. And I can see why people won't like it, but Dustin, man, I want people to go check this movie out. What was that for you?
Fall Guy. There
Fall
is
Guy.
no
Yep.
reason
Yep.
why there's no reason why I should like that film.
Really?
Yeah, because if you know who I am and like know that all the artsy stuff, but the
Yeah.
Fall Guy is one of those. I'll be laying in bed at night, I'll be sitting there, shut the lights off, got the laptop, and I'm like, I want to watch a film. You know, if I can't find a film to watch, I'm watching Fall Guy. I absolutely love that movie so much.
That's funny.
And it's just it's a dumb film. It's got a dumb setup, but but at the same time, it's, again, it's like Hooper. If you go back, if you watch Hooper now, you look at it and go, this is the dumbest movie on the planet, right?
Yeah.
But
I'm afraid to watch Hooper because of that. I'm afraid
yeah,
to because I don't know if it'll live up to
yeah,
my
it's like
memory of how
watching
good it
Red
was.
Dawn. Have you watched Red Dawn in a long time?
Well, I tried to do the remake, which will probably make my list of movies that shouldn't have been remade. The remake
Shouldn't
was
have been
horrible.
remade.
But
No,
The Red Dawn, I think it's been like 5 years since I've watched the original. It wasn't as good as I remembered, but
no,
I still like some things about it, but
yeah.
it was like, why did I think this was such a great
It's
action
it's
film?
pretty hokey. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's pretty hokey. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, a Fall Guy, it has a lot of warts on it. My other film that I would also put into that, and I'm kind of excited because I think it's getting remade, is Starship Troopers. There's some warts on it, especially now. It just, some of the
Yeah.
special effects don't hold up as much.
Sure.
It wasn't a great adaptation. Well, let me take this. It wasn't a true adaptation of Starship Troopers, the actual original book. There was a lot of variants that
Okay.
they should have, like, that I wasn't a huge fan of them taking some liberties. But I love what's his name that directed it.
Nerds. I'll figure it out. I'll get that for you. Who directed
He
Starship
did RoboCop.
Trooper? Verhowski?
Yeah, Peter
Yeah.
Verhoeven.
Yeah, because 'cause I'm a big RoboCop guy, and that
Yeah,
was a remake that I was not a fan of either.
yeah.
Yeah.
But the Starship Troopers is one of those that, it's like if I was gonna remake a movie, that would be the one I would really, because I love the idea of like that kind of Klendathu, and it's like the bugs and kind of that. It's almost a Western, but it's in space, and that's how I would kind of do it that way. I would have it set in a little bit more of a.
Mandalorian style, a Western in space?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah,
very
yeah,
much
yeah.
so. That kind of Western feel, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away kind of
Yeah,
feeling,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
With
Yeah,
a bunch of
Starship
rogues and scoundrels, yeah.
Yeah, we are gonna get another Starship Troopers. I know part of it is having to do with I don't know if you're a video game player, but Helldivers 2 was very successful the last couple years, and it's like it's basically you're playing Starship Troopers. It's
Is it
called
really?
Helldivers 2. Oh, dude, it's I played it for a few weeks with my niece's fiance and my brother, and it's hilarious. Like, it even almost has, like, the commercials, like, being
Really?
American. Yeah, yeah. Helldivers 2, was super successful, made a lot of money, and I feel like it made and everybody who's played Helldivers 2 is like, this is like what Starship Troopers, the video game, should have been, right? Like, this is like everybody had Starship Trooper vibes when you're playing Helldivers 2. And so
I have to
even
check
to
that
like
one
the
out.
yeah, check it out. It was big on new gen and stuff. If I know I don't know how old your son is. He's probably a little older, but if he's a video game player, he might know it. But yeah, so I know that Starship Troopers has got some wheels have picked up for getting it remade, which I would be a fan of that.
Yeah, Neil Blomkamp.
Neil
He's
Blomkamp,
the guy
yeah.
that did
District
District
9.
9, yeah,
Yes,
and
District 9, what a
Elysium.
and he's doing the Starship
He's
Troopers.
doing the remake, yeah.
So that means we're gonna see Shartley Copley as somebody, so that's good to know,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
Because he going from his character in District 9 to being the villain in Elysium was really hard for me to transition.
yeah,
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 so I wanted him to be an awesome bad guy, but I don't know, it was hard to see him as that bad guy to Matt Damon in that one.
yeah.
Elysium was actually one of my movies where I'd say, like, I went to the theater so excited, and I walked out like, I don't know if I really like
Same,
this movie."
same.
So for me, The Ugly is not an ugly movie, but not everybody loves westerns like you and I. But there's a movie that just got released on Netflix. It's been out for a couple years. I've talked about it. I've never talked about it on my podcast, but I've talked about it with a lot of friends. I am a huge Old Henry fan. Have you ever seen Old Henry? So Old
Yeah,
Henry
yeah,
is a slow burn, y'all, and
very slow.
that's why it would be my ugly. It is a movie that you have to slog through, but I'm here to tell you, it is easily a top 5 payoff of all time. Old Henry, if you're a fan of any old school westerns or old school real life western stories, I don't want to give anything away, and please do not look up any spoilers on Old Henry or the movie will not
Mhm.
be good. That's another reason
Yeah,
why I have to name it an ugly. If you know the ending to Old Henry, it loses its emotional
that's
excitement
fun.
when it's revealed. But so check it out. It's on Netflix. It just released last week, but it's been out for years. But check out Old Henry. Why is his name slipping my head? Tim Nielsen Blake, or Tim Blake Nielsen.
Tim Blake
Yeah.
Nielsen, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. He's from Oh Brother Where Art Thou, which he stole,
Mhm.
one of the great supporting actors. He's in a lot of stuff. You might recognize him if you're younger. You'll recognize him. He was the brain guy in the new Captain America, Brave New World, the old Incredible Hulk movie with Edward Norton. So you'll recognize him from those or some of his bigger movies he's been in. But he is just a farmer, and it's a slow burn, not a lot of action, but it's worth it. Check it out, Old Henry. That's my ugly right now, and I think it's a beautiful film. But the warts are not everybody loves westerns, so it's even harder to sit through a slow burn western. Like, yeah, that's a chore for people. So yeah,
Yeah, and I
so
I think also too, it's not that I'm like a snob, but, like, Trace Atkins, I don't think was a strong, casting in that.
yeah, the acting for him, Steven Dorff ended up being pretty good. I wasn't
Yeah,
too
I thought he
excited.
was good,
He did
but
really
Trace
well, but
Atkins, I think there were so many other good people out there that could have played that part.
yeah,
You know, I'm a huge fan of, like, people like, I mean, me of all people is like, follow your dreams and go do as many different things as you can, right? But
sure, sure.
I would have rather seen, you know, a countless other character actors play that part that Trace Atkins did in it than Trace Atkins, because he kind of comes in a little flat for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a memorable scene, but it isn't because of his
Hmm.
acting, and so part of that
Yeah.
is part of that. But yeah, I get you there. But yeah, check it out if you guys do. If you've thought about giving a Western a try, if you've seen it pop up on your feed when you're scrolling on Netflix, give it a try. It's free now. You've already paid for your subscription for the month. Why not give it a little try? You won't be disappointed at the ending. You'll enjoy it. I really do believe, and it feels like a realistic fight scene too. I actually feel
Hmm.
like it's a very realistic, maybe not the very beginning of it, but like towards like the finale of it all is pretty good. And so we're gonna transition. We're not gonna do any more segments. There's something that I've been wanting to talk to Tom about. He had mentioned something to me that was in his email that I was very curious about. He is starting to put together a production company, or he's working on it in this area in Missouri. and he made this comment about Hollywood's approach, and he really feels like independent movies have a better chance to succeed now because of some of the laziness of Hollywood. So I really want to talk about as we end, and we've got time,
Mhm.
as much time as you have. I know we've gone a little bit long here in the recording, but I'd love to. I want to have this conversation.
Sure.
Is one about your production team and what you're doing there, but your philosophy on what is Hollywood. What are some things that Hollywood's doing that is leading to some of their failures that you think an independent filmmaker has a benefit or there's a strength to independent film? And so, can you kind of touch base with that for me and some of the viewers who are new to that side of things?
Yeah, I mean, just to when we're talking about a production company, for all intents and purposes, we're looking at a group of us or three of us that are looking to start producing films. But in order to produce films, you got to have at least some money, to be able to do that. And so we're going to basically start putting our money together. And if we have, friends out there that have money that they want to be able to go, hey, we want to put this towards something. Because the biggest problem that we run into locally here, and it's kind of an issue, is that you have there are people, there are what we call bad actors in the process that think that they're going to make money off of people that don't have any money. And most of us that make these little short films, we don't have any money to begin with. We're out scrimping and saving and putting all of our dollars together, or we might find somebody that says, "Hey, I got, $200. Let's put it towards this." So that's kind of what we're thinking of doing basically right now. And I think together we're stronger. Together we're more able to sell to certain groups that want to basically help produce a film. They may say, "Hey, we got $1,000. We want to give it to this person over here who doesn't own a camera, doesn't do this, doesn't do this, doesn't do this, but says they can be a director." Or we want to give $1,000 to these guys over here that have done feature films, that have all their equipment, that do. So the idea is that people that have money to give out, which is what you ultimately need, are going to trust people that have invested in their equipment and invested in their careers more so than people that have not. It's that's the simple answer right there as far as why we're doing it. So we're going to start putting our funds together, basically set up, hopefully down the road, be able to set up ourselves as some sort of little local production company that we can start producing stuff. And in that process, we can take whatever funds that we make from some of these little things, whether it be on YouTube or we build a channel, then we can kind of put it back into and reinvest back into more films. Because I'll be honest with you, none of us here are looking to do this to become millionaires or to become famous. We do it because we love making films. There are people that are around though that look at it and say, "Well, we want to make $1 million at it." And more power to you if you can. It's just it's not it's not realistic. Now, like with the advent or the release of Obsession, and Obsession was a really big deal because what it did is you took a $650,000 film and they made it and they made what, $140 million off of it.
I think no, it's like number 3 on rated R movie. It's like I think
Really,
it's almost Catching Sinners. Like, it's crazy.
really.
It's in the top 5 money making for an R-rated horror. Like,
But
it's jumped up that high.
the
It's
thing is
crazy.
with
I
that
still haven't watched
film,
it.
I haven't watched it either. And I want to, but the thing with like that film is it basically fired a warning shot across the bow of Hollywood, and it said, in order to have, because this has always been, it's like, how many times have we seen Robert De Niro in a crappy movie in the last 10 years? All the time, because they think that Robert De Niro is going to sell tickets,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And what they found out is all of these actors in this horror film that was actually a smart horror film didn't have nobody knew who they were, but they had a YouTube audience. And so they were able to sell it. And A24, I think A24 bought it, right?
Yep, A24, and they're doing really good stuff. They really are putting
A24
out some really
bought
good
it.
stuff. Yep.
They bought it for, probably $1 million, and then they could turn around and make $400 million off of it or whatever. I mean, that's just where it's going right now. And Hollywood, the times of putting $400 million into a film or $250 million into a film, like Supergirl, that turned out to be just a massive heaping turd at the end of it
Yeah.
all.
Yeah, and
And
then
so
there's
to me,
rumors.
I look at the model and go, the model is broken. The model's been broken for a long time. It's just that nobody wanted to say anything because it's like A24 put out a post. This was a month ago about how they use AI, right? All of the people that complain and scream to the high heavens about how AI is horrible, not one person went out and said, "Oh, hey, that's horrible that A24 uses AI," because they're all trying to get jobs from A24. So they're not gonna A24 is hot right now. So A24 can go out and say that the sky is red and people will go, "Yeah, sure."
Yeah, I mean, A24, I would think anybody like, I think the director, I can't remember his name. They're really funny. It's called, I think their YouTube is That's a Bad Idea. It's the 2
Yeah.
guys, and
I've
they're
been
funny
watching them for
dudes.
several
Yeah.
years,
Yeah,
yeah.
they're funny guys. They offered, I don't know if you saw this, but, they offered him 2, so I haven't watched Obsession, so I'm gonna watch Obsession. I do think it looks good. I'm gonna eventually watch it. I'm gonna give it a go just to see what the hype is, honestly, but they said they were gonna give, so he made that with $750,000. They were gonna give him $2,000,000 to make Bear, the main actor, the character. They wanted to make him a different style character, and they were gonna give him 2,000,000, and he refused.
Yeah,
So now you have a guy with a story who said, "No, my story doesn't work if I do the Hollywood formula."
that's right.
So the success sometimes is not listening. I mean, think about all these stories we hear. Fantastic Four with Josh Trank. I don't know if you remember The Chronicle with Josh Trank. Great movie.
Yes,
And then he
yes.
made this little YouTube video. It's 17 minutes. It's called "The Death of Superman." He just sits down. He's drinking scotch, and he talks about how the death of Superman ruined comic books. It's awesome. It's great.
Mhm.
And then he makes Fantastic Four, being a Fantastic Four nerd, all on board. And then guess what happened? The executives wanted one thing, he wanted another. He never left his tent because he was so mad that they wouldn't do what he did. But then it caused all this drama, and they just hodgepodged a movie together, and we got crap. Supergirl. I just read not too long ago, Supergirl had 2 versions. They were so split over the 2 versions to release, it only won by like 2 votes. So the version we got this year barely won over the other version that the studios were split on. So there's just all these things where the studio gets in the way. Do you
Well, you look
think
at the first Ant-Man, right? You had Edgar Wright, one of the hottest directors of our generation that has been able to make stuff that has, for very cheap, he makes his films and he's able to cut them together and they look good. They still hold up. He was supposed to be the director of Ant-Man. He's the one that came up with, like the concept of, Ant-Man running across the gun and punching the guy in the face. And there was
Yeah,
a
yeah.
cool little movie that he made and studio got involved in it and he just took off and went the other direction. Deadpool started out the same exact way, but Deadpool learned from Edgar Wright and said, "No, we're gonna do it this way," And I think there's been a rumbling, there's been a reckoning that's been coming for a while that the studio systems, the producers, the people that with the purse strings, they were all gatekeepers too for a long time of like, oh, it's like that camera right there, that it's a black magic. It's a $2,000 camera, so it's nothing big and bad about it, right? It makes a great image. But nowadays, $2,000, you can make a film. Ari Alexa cameras are 35 to $65,000, right? Just for the camera, no lenses, nothing else, right? And the reason why these studio systems you have Netflix, you have to have this type of camera to make a film,
Yeah.
it's all they're gatekeeping every step of the way, and the problem is none of them they've all lost the ability to read what the audience wants and what
Yeah.
people want. It's
Yeah.
like one of the things and this I know this is a tangent and this goes off, but how many superhero movies have you seen where they go, "Let's change the costume." "Let's change the costume to something else." It's like the first X-Men. "Let's put them all in leather." No, just put the X over the front, make them in a blue spandex. Everybody would have
Sure,
gone
yeah.
nuts, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But they
Let's
wanna
take away
change
the
it.
visual. Let's take away the whole thing that
Right,
every person who's ever read the comic book attaches, and let's change
right.
it. It makes no sense. Yeah.
And that's what in my opinion, that's what saved He-Man because they were actually really, really, really close to the
They did
the
the
concept.
colors. They kept some
Yeah,
of the colors,
yeah,
I mean, he wore that light purple shirt instead of his print
yeah.
shirt, and so they did enough visually. That reminds me, there was one, so you had one little issue with Orko. I actually thought Trapjaw was poorly written in this version.
I do too.
He should have been a Starscream type character like he was in the
Yeah.
cartoons.
Yeah.
And I think because Skeletor was such a comedic part, that's why they made
They didn't
Trapjaw.
want it to yeah.
They didn't wanna have double down, but Trapjaw was always one of my favorite funny characters, and not that he was bad in the movie, but, and I'm not saying Hollywood did that, but you're right, the visuals of He-Man they were like, when Ram Man I didn't like that he wasn't red, but man, when he went up when he did his stuff, it was
Yeah.
exactly what I imagined, you know what I mean?
But,
Mecha Neck, exactly what I would imagine,
oh,
just awesome.
yeah. The thing is like, I've heard it a few times, and I've heard kind of film snobs talk about it, and they go, "Yeah, it's just fan service. That's why we're here, folks." You
Yeah,
know? It's
exactly.
I know that you don't want to lower yourselves to the standard of, like, making people happy, but,
I know.
if I'm gonna pay $10 to $15 for a movie ticket, yeah, give me some fan service. That's what I want. That's why I'm coming to see it, you know? I didn't buy Spider-Man comics when I was a kid because I wanted to be preached at, or, you know, I didn't want that back then, and I still don't want that anymore. But I didn't buy those comics because I didn't want to be preached at. I wanted to be able to relate to a character that had struggles just like I did, and that I knew that the writers understood where I was at as a young man or whatever, and that it gave me a platform to dream a little bit. And I think that all films nowadays, that's what we should be kind of striving for, is to make stuff that allows people to think, but we don't necessarily need to tell you how to think. We should try to don't spoil the ending. It's like, give us something to think about, but don't necessarily tell us how to think. And I think that's the biggest issue that we've had in a lot of Hollywood stuff lately. And I think that they're starting to feel the pinch, and they've done it for so long. I think we're at the path of no return right now.
Yeah, it stinks because it's like you got these, like you were saying, like, so on the independent side, you have the luxury of having some of control, but you don't have the money. On the other side, the shareholders who have the money do have the control. And so if a bunch of
Mhm.
shareholders are like, well, we want our character, we want this to be we want this to be in a background, or we need these types of people in this role, we need this in this role, right? Diversity, all that stuff, whatever. I'm not going to knock anything because everybody wants to see I understand the argument of everybody wants to see a representation of them. Like, right? You loved Spider-Man so much because there was something in it that represented you.
Mhm.
So for me and you as two white men to say, okay, it shouldn't be this, well, that's because we've had a lifetime of seeing everything. But
Right.
then again, I don't go to Asia and tell them to start putting white people in Asian movies.
Right.
When I watched The Furious is a phenomenal action movie, by the
I
way.
haven't seen it yet.
Oh yeah, phenomenal, guys, phenomenal. But this is where I'm not a hypocrite. I'm never going to go to the writer of The Furious and say, why wasn't there a white guy? Why
There
wasn't there a
wasn't any
white
white
girl?
representation
Yeah,
in this one. Yeah.
why wasn't I representing this movie? Because I understand that this was not an American film. Now I get an American film, we have so many different people, and there lies the rub, right? How do you cater to that? But once again, financially, listen, if I don't understand why people want to eat and take a loss, if the whole point is to make money, which I don't think Hollywood is anymore. I personally think Hollywood has agendas and has things that they're trying to do, but that's the conspiracy theorist in me. We can have a whole conversation about that. But if the point was to make money, you still would put whoever buys the most tickets. And statistically, there is a demographic that buys the most tickets, right? Yet we're kind of pooped on right now. So there's some issues there, and I don't know how to fix that. So with independent films, so with you, with your team that you're going to get together, I'm glad that you're doing it because when I watched all these short films, it amazes me. I get that you guys all have teams that you're comfortable with, but there was enough talent that Friday night where a couple feature films could be done and be successful. There's enough
Oh, yeah.
talent, if people could come together and say, okay, listen, let's have, not that David needs to be it or you, but let's have this as a cinematographer and let's just all vote that of all let's have him pick his team, and then he could pick somebody from Slato 69's production, whatever.
Mhm.
The Sacred Sip was a comedy. Hey, we want some comedy infused, man. These guys, we need a little bit of, right. So there's these
Mhm.
things. So
Yeah.
I get there's hubris and everybody wants to be the team that does their own thing. But it seems like you guys, I think Missouri has the talent within its network where I just see some feature films coming from all of you that could be very, very, why can't the next obsession come from the Missouri team? You got
Well,
Brittany
and
Greer who's in love with horror, right? You know what I mean?
right.
You got some people who at least loves the genre enough to follow the own formulas of success that the genre itself has shown to be. This is what fans want, because I don't understand, when did it get cool to knock fan service? Like, that's a new, like, in
I
the
don't
last
know.
10 to 15 years, it seems to be like a Rotten Tomato thing. Like it seems like a bougie thing for a critic to be like, well, it's just fan service. What? Transformers should be fan service. The whole freaking concept is
Well, I mean,
ridiculous if you're not a fan.
it's no surprise right now that they're upset if they make movies for us. They're not upset if they make movie. It's like, for example, and goes down that long winding road, but there is a very well-known there's a very well-known trend going on in the film festival circuit right now, that if you're a white male, your films are gonna have a hard time getting selected at Sundance, at, a lot of these places. They're looking for minorities, they're looking for women to be into the film production sphere, notably,
Sure.
like, directors, right?
Yeah.
And the problem is that there isn't that many. So there's a lot more in the United States. There's a lot more because of just sheer population, right? There's more white male directors out there than anything else. But a lot of our films don't get selected for stuff because of demographics, basically, DEI, or whatever you want to call it. And that's been going around for a long time. Well, now what's happened here lately, there was an article that went out. There's a trend that's going around now, that now white males are not submitting to film festivals anymore, because we have to submit for a film festival. You got to pay 35 to 40 bucks for the cheap ones. And for Sundance, just to be rejected because you didn't fit a certain demographic, you're paying 110 to $200 for your film, a short film, to be put in. And so people just aren't going to do it anymore. And so, with that being said, how many great films are out there right now that never get seen because we're not worried about the art form anymore. Hollywood's not worried about the art form anymore. They don't care about making good films. It just like Sundance doesn't really care about seeing good films. It's because they're more worried about checking a box of some sort.
Yeah, and I mean, I get the other side of, you want more representation. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with the argument of that. But the question is, if you say, hey, I've got 30 films, 10 of the best films are from this demographic, but man, we've seen too many from these demographic. Let's cut those 10 films out. Now we have these 20 films that have a lot of diversity, but only 2 of them are really good, but we got to push 10 of them. You're setting up you're setting up, as a moviegoer. I'm already going into movies thinking this was only made because it was for girls, like Supergirl,
Right.
right? I already went into it thinking,
Yeah.
I can already tell, like, just from the trailers, I can already tell that this isn't for me. But I'm a comic book fan, and I like Supergirl. I like the world, and I like James Gunn, and I wanted to be successful and all that kind of stuff. And Christina really wanted it. My wife really, so when I saw
She
Supergirl,
wanted to like the film. Yeah.
my wife liked the film, and next to her were 4 girls and 2 guys, and those girls liked the film. Those 2 guys and me were dead silent walking out of the movie theater,
Yeah.
because I didn't wanna I'm glad she liked the movie. Like, I don't wanna piss in her Cheerios, right? You know what I'm saying? Like,
But you
I want
just had
her,
your soul ripped out.
but I was just like, first, I don't even like Jason Momoa that much, even though, he was
I don't
like,
need
I love
I'm
Aquaman. It baffles me that Aquaman is still DC. Do you know Aquaman is still DC's best movie, money-wise?
Oh, yeah, and it was a great
It
film.
and it was a good film, and Jason Momoa was actually, good in it, but the special effects and the underwater fighting was actually really amazing in the first Aquaman. It's only $1 billion to this day.
Mhm.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, a Man of Steel did like 847 total worldwide, but the new Superman didn't even do as good as Man of Steel. That's crazy to me.
Well, and to kind of bring this all back around of what I was thinking is
Sure,
that
yeah, yeah.
the whole point is that our job, or our opportunity right now as independent, and it's the Wild West as far as I'm concerned right now, because distribution models are out the door. Going to a festival is fun. Like, my film that I did last year called The Rev just got selected at the Fayetteville Film Festival this
Congrats.
year, which is that's a festival's been going on for like almost 20 years. And so it's kind of, for me at least, it was a big deal to get into that one.
Yeah, congrats. That's awesome.
So, that one's neat. The festivals are great as far as your film is your business card and you get to go and you get to talk to people. But past that, if you think you're going to get a distribution deal at a festival, maybe 0.01%, I would assume.
Okay.
So unless you're like going through the circuit, like, oh, we're gonna hit the circuit, we're gonna invest $5 million into this, and we're gonna do press and all that kind of stuff, then yeah,
Sure.
sure. But
Yeah.
other than that, don't worry about it. But to me, that whole distribution model and being able to figure out what life your film has after you're done with it, it's anybody's guess right now. I mean, there's so many different platforms that you can go and put your film out and people can see it. There's a project that's coming up that's almost funded from what I gather. I actually interviewed for it or I auditioned for it. It's called The Red Hood Resurrection. It's filmed in Branson, but it's a fan web series of the Red Hood from the DC comics. It's
Oh, that's
like
a good character. Yeah.
Batman.
Yeah, I know Red Hood.
You should go out and if I afterwards, I'll send you the link to this. But anyways, I auditioned for a part. The director, cinematographer of this web series reached out to me and said, "Hey, will you read for this part?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I'd love to read." It's like I think I read for the crime boss Maroney.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, I'd totally love to be the crime boss Maroney.
Yeah,
That's cool."
dude. Yeah.
Because it's like a sub character. It's like, that's great. I get to have fun, right? I don't have to
Sure.
worry about
Yeah.
like putting on any tights and fighting or anything like that.
You can eat spaghetti.
So oh, I know I can eat spaghetti. Yeah, I can lean into my Italian side. But so anyways, and that's happening and like this guy, sorry, I'm gonna have to find his name. I think his name is Josh or Noah, one of the two. Anyways, they've got this series and it's this will be their third series or third season. And I think they produce like 8 episodes each season.
Yeah, it's the Red
Really
Hood and it's
well
out of Branson.
done.
I'm gonna check it out. Yeah.
But anyways, they do a really good job on it. Like the Noah Byer.
Noah Baya. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but he's got this series. And they get to do whatever they want to. That's the beautiful thing. Like if you don't have a distribution deal, they're not held to it. They're like people are paying them because they go, "Yeah, make this for us." So that's how he's getting his donations. Like, "Here, we're going to pay you before you even make it." Right?
Dude,
Like
that's
what if we
yeah.
all paid the whatever the brothers or the friends that made Project Hail Mary, what if we paid them and said, "Hey, go out and make this film. We just want to watch it."
Dude,
Like
that's yeah.
we'll pay you $200 million to, if they got and so that model is basically what a lot of these people are doing is going, "Hey, we want to see He-Man 2. So we're all going to pony up $100. Okay, cool." And the director goes, "Yeah, I'll go make it for you." And so I think that's kind of the model that we're seeing on some of these. There's another model out there that we've been looking at is the potential of like going out, getting funding to produce a series. And then what we'll do is we release the first episode and you have a paywall behind the rest of it. And so then you come out and you would watch like we might have 6 episodes in the season. And so then you would just basically have a free episode that tells you about the story, gets you going, and then as kind of a teaser, basically. And then if you really
Yeah.
like it, then you could pay $5 and watch the rest of the season, you know?
Yeah, yeah, no, I think that's a cool model because it gives me, the viewer, "Hey, I like this pilot."
Yeah,
If I'll pay $8.99 on Hulu just to watch a new season of The Rookie, and then I'll
exactly.
cancel it at the end of the month,
That's right.
why wouldn't I pay 5 or $10 for your 6 episodes? Like,
Yeah.
we just got Angel Studios. I just paid for a whole year the other day for all of Angel. We saw Young Washington. It almost made my good, so the Young Washington was pretty good. Yeah, we
Did you
just
know
paid.
one of the producers lives in Springfield, right?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I'll have to reach out,
He
see
was
if I
at
could.
Sato with us.
Shut up.
Yeah. Yep. He was talking about before the movie was released. And that's that's actually why I went to the Springfield Creatives event last night was because he was supposed to be there. He wasn't. So,
Yeah, well, it blew up pretty big, but Angel Studios, I think they originally were what you were talking about. They were having
yep,
people saying, "This is what we want." So churches
yep,
were like, "Okay, this is the
that's
money that
right.
we're willing to give. This is the kind of movies we want." And
Yep.
that's why every time you watch anything on Angel Studios, it'll actually say this has been approved by a certain guild they have that they don't
Mhm.
allow certain material to be on there, of course. But,
Yeah.
once again, you have to it's preachy, right? And so there's things you have to
It
say,
can be.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
it can be. We were watching the Homestead series, and that's what we got. I liked Young Washington. I wanted to watch the Wayfinders, and I wanted to watch Homestead. So I told my wife, I was like, you know what? Let's, we like Solo Mio. I was like, we've been talking about this. So we just did the
How
whole
was that
year.
movie?
Solo Mio, I really enjoyed. I thought it was I'm a
I
Kevin
kinda
James
wanna watch
guy.
that one. Yeah.
I enjoyed it. I recommend it. Watch it with your wife. Sit down and then get some popcorn. Just a good date night. Me and her
Mhm.
really enjoyed it. It's a good romance comedy. I think Kevin James is good at that kind of stuff. It's clever. I'm not going to say it's the greatest movie ever, but I want to say it was on one of the episodes earlier in the year. I think it was my good. I was pleasantly surprised. It made me
Okay.
want to get Angel Studios because of it. And then, so Young Washington, we went and saw Young Washington. I took my dad. I took him because he probably served with Washington. That's how old he is. But we go to the movie theater. There's like 40 of us in the movie theater. My dad's all excited because he made a joke at the beginning of the movie and everybody laughed. So Angel Studios, they're putting a lot of movies into the theater this year. They have got like 7 more movies coming out. Well, the problem with Young Washington is you have to watch all 7 of those trailers before the movie starts. Plus you got to watch like 3 more Hollywood trailers as well. So there was like
Mm.
10 trailers. So my dad goes, "It's about time." And then everybody starts laughing. So so of course my dad thinks it's he's a Jones. So he got the laugh. He's the funny one. So, but yeah, Young Washington was just so well done that it made me go, you know what, Angel Studios, let's yep, for sure. We're gonna give you not just a monthly, we're gonna buy a whole year. But I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure their model in the beginning stages of Angel Studios was exactly what you're talking about. We want to pay for these kind of films. Make us this kind of a film.
Well, and what's funny is there's no publicity on any of that stuff, and there's a reason why there's no publicity on that stuff. Is because again, and I love Hollywood for all its faults, but they're gatekeepers of their process. And their process, I mean, and I'll probably have a hit put out on me now, but the unions, if like for example, this was told to me by a couple of people because I talked to them about what I had been looking at doing to like release a film or release a series. And they said, you know what, the first season you won't have a problem. Like you could make that the first season. They said, but after they found out how much money you made on it and that you didn't pay the unions to be able to do it, they would come after you. And
Really?
yeah, and that's ultimately but they have to, right? They have to survive.
Yeah, they're
And
protecting their unions. I get all that.
and I totally get it, but that's and I've talked to a couple industry people that they basically say the same thing, and they live in California. They live in Los Angeles, and they say the same exact thing, is that that's what's basically they've union themselves into a whole. And that's one of the beautiful things about out here is that if we can keep making short films that make no money, the unions aren't gonna bother us.
Yeah.
We can still
Yeah.
make our films. We're just not
Sure.
gonna make a living doing it. And that's kind of it's like, yeah, you can keep making films all you want to, but the minute you start making money at it, we're gonna come after you. I mean, we're
Yeah.
gonna try to get it from you. And that's just kinda how the process is. There's the other big thing too, and this kinda stays in that whole idea is that, the way of making movies when you have a director, an assistant to the director, an assistant director, or a camera operator, a cinematographer, a first AC. I mean, that's a lot of those, in my opinion, those jobs don't even make it onto half of our sets
Yeah.
because, like, for example, when David Watson and I are working on a film together, along with Brittany, I'm sometimes the director. Brittany is usually the assistant director if I'm the director, and then David is the cinematographer, but I'm also the first assistant camera as well. Brittany is probably doing makeup. David's probably running audio, and
Yeah.
David's probably running the lights. And then we'll have maybe 2 or 3 other people with us, like Curtis Stout or a few other folks that are always on set with us. But we're doing all of that on our own. We don't need 15 people on a set to be able to do it, nor do we want 15 people on a set doing that.
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
like going, I want to work as the director, but I also want to be like assistant camera to you, David, okay?
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
want to run the camera, or I want to be able to set the camera up, or I want to put it together. And that's typically how we do most of our little short films is there's a bunch of us and we're all
Sure.
playing the same, like, multi different parts. And I think that and I've seen this a couple times with a couple of productions that have come in, they want to have all of, first AC and that all this kind of stuff. It's a waste of money. It really is. It's a you're wasting the producer's money by having to have all those people on there. Sure, it does employ a lot of people sometimes, but it also takes money out of other people's, pocket. And so it just that Hollywood system, it worked really well out there for a long time, but for independent films, you don't have to have it.
Yeah,
And in my opinion.
no, it's not. Brittany made a good comment on her episode was you want to be just dangerous enough at everything. Like you
That's
really want
right.
to, and I like that you guys did. So we're going to end with one final question. And then I want to know what's your favorite hat that you wear? Like I know you act on screen, you do your theater stuff, but what's your favorite? Like moving forward, Dustin, if I could make a living, like if I could be like part of this production team and always be this position, what would be that hat? And this is no offense to David or Brittany or anybody else listening, but what would be the thing that you would say, this would be your favorite and is your favorite thing to do out of all those different things?
I mean, I love acting. Acting for me comes really easy, but again, I'm not, you know, I can act. That's not a challenge for me. So in order to keep me going for a long time, you have to kind of find that thing that's super, super challenging for you. And hands down will always be the most is directing. I think it's one of those things that everybody looks at and they always want to be a director. But to really be a good director, in my opinion, it takes a muscle that most people don't have when it comes to directing. It took me a couple years to develop it. But as a director, your job is not telling people what to do, in my opinion. Your job sometimes is keeping people between the ditches, right? But I think the other thing that you're doing is you want to instill confidence in people and you want to be because you know how all the processes work. Sometimes it helps, like if David, the cinematographer, is working on something, he's like trying to figure out how to set the camera or whatever. Sometimes just it's a matter of going, it looks good. I love it. And it's instilling confidence in people and allowing them to create because that's the second thing is that you have this beautiful, impossible process that's called filmmaking. And it is impossible. And you have all these people didn't show up to be on your set to not be creative.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of people that are wanting to be creative and they want to show up and they want to be able to express themselves in a way, whether that be an actor or lighting or making sure the audio is great, the cinematographer, all that stuff. If you're not allowing or trying to build a environment to allow creators to create, you're kind of missing the boat as a director, in my opinion. You gotta
Okay.
really make sure that everybody there is, like, having a good time, and not having a good time is not, like, sitting around, like, dancing and, drinking or whatever. It's about they're fulfilled in you're helping them fulfill a dream or get something creative out of, and I love that aspect of it. I will tell a lot of people, though, directing, in my opinion, is a big dog turd with sprinkles on top of it. It's not the fun job, and
Yeah.
if you do it
Yeah.
right, it's a lot of work, and but it is the one thing that I still to this day, I'm like, I still love doing it. It's like the siren song. If somebody goes, "Hey, Tom, can you direct this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'll direct it." I love it, you know?
Good, good. So Tom Baker likes taking turds and putting sprinkles on them, is what I'm hearing. Everybody, so for the rest of his life,
You heard it
he
here.
wants to put sprinkles on dog turds. And so you've heard it here first. So speaking of where you've heard it, where is something that we can see you at? Is there anything like, are you doing a play in Branson right now? Do you have anything that's on streaming, something where people can see you or an Instagram where people can follow you? Where can we stay into the world of Tom Baker?
Yeah, I have some stuff out there. I need to be better about it. I'll
Okay.
send you a link.
Okay.
Let's say I'll do my best today to get a few of my films out there, and that's a great thing is that, and I think it's really good for artists just in general is to put your stuff out there so people can see
Yeah,
it. It's kind of like your
exactly.
way of putting your seal of approval on something. And I have stuff, and I share it with people all the time, but I've never been really good at going, "Hi, I'm Tom Baker, and this is all the
Yeah.
stuff that I've made." I'm just not good at
Sure.
it.
Okay.
But yeah, I will. I'll get some of that stuff together, and I can put a link on there. And if people want to come out and watch a few of my films, I have a few of them out there right now. Like my film Le Rev that just got selected for the Fayetteville Film Festival. I have one called Hope Lost that I made a couple years ago, and then I have one called The Measured. And then I think I can't put El Mercenario out there yet because it's gonna be in festival here coming
Okay,
up.
so you gotta
So
yeah, you gotta wait on that one, and then, guys, you can
mhm.
see him as the mayor in Happy Halloween. He's in
That's right,
Eldritch
that's
he's
right.
a I believed he was the mayor,
I
and then
was.
Eldritch USA, and then, I think,
Yeah, I was in that.
and you were a part of Vincent's Vow, and that's David is and Brittany or that's
Yeah.
is that so my you guys are familiar with Brittany Greer and David Watson. They've been guests. They're gonna be guests on another episode about remakes, so that's how originally I was supposed to meet Tom through them, but it was at a bathroom. But, so he's worked with them, and so you might recognize him if you did check out Happy Halloween, and that is streaming right now, and so, we do appreciate it. Once you get that link to me when I post the video on my different sites, I'll have that link for you, and I will get that going. So I do appreciate you. I'd love to have you back. I'd like to talk some more about. I want to get a group together about AI pros and cons. I think that is a hot topic.
Wow.
So I think that'll be a fun
We
one
can
where we
talk
can
a
talk
lot about
about
it, that's for sure, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Because as a viewer, I just want it to be good. What do I care, right?
Right.
As a viewer, but I know that
Mhm.
there's money that needs to be made, mouths that need to be fed, all that kind of stuff. I know it's a hot button topic, and I would like some people who have kind of played around with that to kind of give their input. So we'll get you on that. Maybe you and Curtis. Maybe I can talk to you. Maybe you and Curtis would be a fun guy, group. Curtis Killingsworth.
That's it.
So
Yeah,
yeah, a
me,
little different.
Curtis, David Watson, he and
Yeah.
I talk about it at least once a week, so
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So we'll get that going. So I appreciate you guys, everybody. So remember to check out Tom Baker. And you can go to Sato 48 to get more information. They're going to release eventually the winners of this year, but they show the winners of last year's and all the different years. And so you see the names of those short films and you can type those short films in and they're on sites. And so if you do want to start getting into short films and seeing these stories told in little 5-minute snips, that's a great way to go is the Sato 48 site. And you'll start seeing names of winners and maybe just watching the best of the best that year will get you kind of going. So we appreciate you, Tom. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you again, okay?
thanks for having me, it was great, man.
Yep.